Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another evening with me, Kalu, on Let's Talk About It, right? X Spaces, where we talk about money, the economy, and of course, personal finance. We want to make it personal to you. The money topics of the week, how does it affect you? And we have quite a lineup today. Today, we're going to talk about, of course, inflation, which came out last week. Food inflation is about 30%. We want to talk about that. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you if you hear inflation 30%? Then, of course, we're going to talk about the waste that we're now seeing come from the government. We talked about the supplementary budget last week, but this week we have another banger from state government spending billions of the citizens' monies on frivolities. Then we're also going to talk about the attempt to shore up the naira. We're hearing that we're going to get some money from Saudi Arabia or from loans. We're going to talk about that in terms of, how does or will this have an effect on the naira? That's essentially what we're going to that. With all this inflow, have an effect on the naira. So we're just going to start it off, and I'm going to do a very, very short, I'm going to do a short intro. And then, of course, if you want to speak, you're open to request to speak. Send a DM or request to speak, and the mic is yours, right? I mean, the topics are all known. There's nothing serious about the topic that you can't converse about. So let's start off with inflation. So inflation numbers came out this week from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and the numbers are not pretty. So we have food inflation at 30%, and I believe the headline core is about 27%. Like I always say, ignore the numbers per se, right, and tend to look at the trend. It's not that inflation is high at 30. The trend is that it's going higher and higher and higher as we speak. So every month, as far as I can remember, prices are going up and up and up and up. And it's being caused really by food. Food prices are going up. And we have no answers to food prices. Food prices are going up because there's insecurity, number one, in the main food producing areas in Nigeria. That's number one. But of course, it's also because the infrastructure to get food from where it's supposed to come from to where it's supposed to be eaten has really collapsed. If you look at the road videos that you see all over the internet, it's bad. You see food is put on the trucks. Before it gets to the south where it's eaten, like where the markets are, it's rotten. So food prices keep on going up and up and up. And food is directly related to everything in Nigeria, because if you bring down inflation, then the MPR, the monetary policy rate, the rate at which the central bank lends money to the banks, can also come down. So if we fix food inflation, we can try at least to bring the inflation down to where it's just demand driven. Right now, the inflation in Nigeria is demand driven and supply driven as well, because supply of food is very, very low. So if we can eliminate the supply side, then we can then talk about the printing of money and how it's contributing to inflation. But right now, if we're only doing monetary means, we will not really address that inflation. Let me give it to you in Naira and Kobo what inflation means to you. If you are earning #1 million Naira and inflation is 27%, your real take-home salary, but without taxes, so I'm not talking about just gross, your take-home is 787,000, about 401 Naira. So inflation is a tax. You are being taxed 27%. So what you actually take home is 787. This is without you paying taxes. So just if you earn $1 million, your real income is 787, which means you have to earn 1.27 just to cover that loss of your salary from inflation. I mean, it's crazy. If it's crazy. So the main thing with inflation is that it doesn't allow you to save. There's no point in saving money if inflation is 30%. It's better to even spend the money. Some would argue that it's better to even borrow money and spend than try to save in an inflationary period. And the problem is that without saving and investing, you really can't get wealthy. So you can see inflation is a disincentive to savings. Why would you save when you're going to lose 300,000 off the cuff? If you put money in the bank today, you've lost 300,000 Naira. Not because the bank is bad, but simply because inflation has eaten away 30% if you're buying food, or 27% if it's core. So big there's an incentive to save. There is no investment in Nigeria today, regulated investment today, that beats inflation. I'm not talking about you go and buy crypto. I'm talking about if you go to the stock market or to your bank or to any regulated outlet where you can put money to invest, there is none in Nigeria that beats inflation of 27%. The best you can do is to reduce the gap. And that's what you should try to do, guys. You should try to reduce the gap. And the way to beat inflation, of course, is not to hold cash. If you're holding Naira cash, then of course you're exposing that Naira cash to the inflation tax, right? So if I was not holding Naira cash, I don't pay a Naira tax. If I hold dollar, I still pay inflation. But dollar inflation is about 4%. Naira inflation is about 27%. So I always advise people, right? If you're not going to spend that Naira in the next 3 months, why are you holding it in cash? You don't have to buy dollar. Even if you buy rice, bag of rice, and keep in your house, and you bring the rice out tomorrow and you sell that bag of rice, you've even saved your Naira from depreciation. And that's the problem. So inflation is the number one problem in Nigeria. This is apart from productivity and the rest, but inflation is key because no one can avoid it, and it kills all of our savings. So that's my talk on inflation. Let's now just sort of go in and talk about Olumide is here. So Olumide is going to give us more data on inflation. Let's talk again about this wastage of funds. If you've seen the Lagos State, I'm sure most of you have, the letter from Mr. Funsho Doherty. He was an aspirant to be the governor of Lagos State, and he basically revealed what was already out there, the procurement of Lagos State and how they are spending money. Some of the things in that budget, when we talked last week about the federal supplementary budget, and I was telling you guys that they put those things there on purpose. They want to buy a car for the first lady on purpose. They don't hide it. They put it there to establish estopel, to say you can't say tomorrow we did not tell you. It was there, it was legal. So if it's there and it's legal, you can't take them to court. You can't sue them because they bought those things legally. It's in the budget. You can't say they choked the money now. It's in the budget. That's why they put them in there. Some things you read in that budget, in a time of austerity, in a time when they're asking people to tighten their belts when all costs are going up. That's obscene. 7 million to quote unquote make the office smell nice. 30 million for mobilization. They're under 30 million as mobilization. 2.7 to buy rechargeable lamps. I mean, that tells you that there's no power supply, first of all, because it's rechargeable. But 2.7 billion? So again, I don't like to look at the numbers, but the process. So these guys sat down and agreed that these things that they want to put, it's okay to be put on a piece of paper and displayed. This is what they agreed. It's not the money per se, but that they agreed that yes, we can put these things up and nothing will happen. That's actually what gets me, And the thing is this, right? Many states look up to Lagos. Many. And Lagos public service is one of the best in Nigeria. They are well set up, very, very smart guys there. They use a lot of IT, a lot of guys that are well educated out there. If Lagos can do this, others say to say, well, Lagos is buying air freshener for 7 million. We'll buy for 700,000. Then it spreads. It's come from federal to states. It's always been there. And you're going to see more of this happening. Why am I talking about it? I'm not really concerned about what Lagos State does with their own tax money. But the point is that this speculation you hear around the dollar, where we hear speculators in quotes are the ones causing the dollar to go up. It's the government people. No one in Nigeria has cash, 2 billion. Nobody, unless you are the government. Any 2 billion owned by the private sector guy, he's looking at how to invest that money, how to create wealth. The government guys don't care. If they have 2 billion, if dollar is 1,000, they will buy it. If dollar is 1 million, they will buy it. They have no care because it's not their money. So whatever dollar goes to, the government guys that take money will buy it. And that's why dollar keeps on going high. Imagine if you have a product that if you increase the price, market will still there for that product. Would you reduce the price? Of course not. So if I hold dollar, why should I reduce the price? What's the incentive for me to reduce the price when I know that once they release budget, people will come to come and buy dollar from me? We all know it happens because if you look at the amount of dollars being removed from their CBN to fund education, it's gone down. But the kids are still in school abroad. So how are they paying for the kids in school abroad? How are they paying to go abroad for medicals? It's true all this illegal on the street transfers of money. That's what's going on. The budgets are released is converted to cash. Again, read that proposal there. Lots of cash payments there. Lots of cash, but not just this one, even the Fed, lots of cash payments. They take out cash, they buy dollars. We all know that the political campaigns were done with dollars. They were giving delegates bribes in dollars. This is the speculation. This is the demand side that is pushing the naira to 1-2 on the black market. Yes, there's a real demand. Guinness Nigeria wants to buy stuff to make beer in Nigeria. They can't get forex. With GSK leaving Nigeria because they cannot get the inputs to make their drugs. There are real companies that want to get inputs paid in dollars that they cannot get dollars. But if you take £1 billion naira to the streets of Lagos today, you will buy dollars. So there is dollars in Nigeria. People say there is dollars in Nigeria. Has anyone gone to the street to buy dollars and didn't find dollars? Nobody. You can go to your bank and not see dollars, but on the streets, there's dollars. Where are dollars coming from? If I have dollars in America, am I mad? Why would you keep dollars in America and earn 5% or 4% when you can bring the same dollars to Nigeria and make nearly 100% if you translate it? So you bring your dollars to Nigeria, you sell to quote-unquote the AB guys, they take dollars from you, they sell to these government guys that have this free money, you take that naira, turn that naira around, buy more dollars, and repeat the trade over and over and over again. You never lose. Never lose. Until I heard the CBN say they want to stop the demand, they want to tax that black market. How do you tax what you don't see? So the only way to do it, like I've said, is to remove cash transactions. Why is any government paying for any service in cash? End of story. I don't care if it's 1 naira, it shouldn't be paid in cash. If you don't have bank account, don't do business with the government. End of story. Why should the government pay you cash for job done? It should go to a bank account so that the FIRS can then go to your bank account and tax you. Why nobody will buy air freshener for 7 million if they're going to pay tax. That's my second point. The third point, of course, is all this issue of trying to raise the value of the naira by borrowing, going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, JP Morgan. We're wasting our time, guys. We're wasting our time. The naira is a derivative of Brent crude oil. If Brent crude oil price goes up, the naira is going to go up. The problem is our output is down. The oil out of Nigeria is down. We used to be at 2.2, 2.3 in 2018. Right now, we're about 1.7 or below 1.7. The medium-term expenditure framework says we'll be back at 1.7, which means that we're not even going to be below. That is the plan for the next 3 years, is to be below where we were in 2018. Why is the oil theft down? Why is oil output down? Oil theft. These pipelines are static, i.e. we know exactly where they are. What we're meant to believe is that the federal government of Nigeria cannot protect static pipelines that generate crude oil revenues for the government to use to pay back its debt. It's unbelievable. If I told you this as a rumor, you would not believe. But it's a fact. And we've seen the videos that static pipelines cannot be protected. But we can buy yachts. What is the yacht for? Is the yacht going to protect the pipeline? I doubt it. So a bit of what they say in policy and what they say in practice is not jiving. And because it's not jiving, the people are not going to suffer more pain. That's just the summary. If your policies don't rhyme with your practice, the people of Nigeria are not going to suffer pain for you. You have to lead from the front. And right now, these guys are not leading from the front. They're leading in their SUVs that are imported, in their private jets that are imported, and in their yachts that are imported. That's my take. Olumide, you've got the floor, bro. What's this inflation thing? Please help us out here.
Good evening, Carlo. Interesting conversation. I think you've done almost of the justice on that topic, but just to highlight, inflation rate in Nigeria has been sticky, just like you rightly alluded to the fact that food inflation has been hovering around 2 decade high, and that's pretty much based on structural issues like supply chain infrastructure issues and insecurity. We felt that since the president's affirmation on keeping the state of security paramount, the killings of farmers will recede, but it seems opposite. And if you look at it on a is, I think one of the factors that caused food inflation. So are staple foods like yam, that you don't see yam being imported. So the question is, how far will it go? But different analysts will tell you that at some point to peak. If you look at what is happening in Ghana, inflation rate has somehow peaked there. So based on partly because of base effect and the fact that at some point seasonal changes also might moderate it. But heavily, there are a lot of factors really putting inflationary pressure high. Money pundits will tell you, national experts will tell you that also the fact that money supply, though I see it more as a fiscal problem, but high money supply, just like right alluded to, so many naira chasing few dollar notes, dollar supply very weak, oil prices, we've not been able to take advantage. This year, cocoa prices, at some point, it's 52-week high. We're not a deep exporting country. So we have anemic issues, Carlo. But I think what you said that really touched me, and I spoke with some investors in different parts of the world, and just the key that is that there is no incentive to put money into the Nigerian market, and this is why. You spoke something like, this year the Naira has shown that cash is not king. So those that really did well this year are those that invested in the NGX. 40% of stocks did better than the US dollar in the black market. About 70% of stocks did better than the inflation rate. But you see, the question is that the residual income of the average Nigerian is not that much. So a lot of people do not have that investment exposure. So we are talking of the likes of Dangote, Rabiu, Otodola, Jimovia, Tony pension funds. They are the large chunk of guys that made over about the 10 trillion naira profit year to date gain. So it tells you that despite the fact that there are some buffers to fight inflation rate, Nigerians don't have that residual income. And with all the optics coming around from government expenses, and the trust to even invest in the country has been diminished. So those are the key headlines of what's really happening right now, Carlo. And so unfortunate, because I was at some point preached about Naira that, I don't see the Naira hitting this low. And pretty much because I felt that the Apex Bank had the FX to really intervene and punish speculators. But right now, with what we're seeing with a state like Lagos State, how they're spending, and the real fact that Economics Intelligence Unit came out with an outlook that said that the CBN does not have the firepower, then you give the speculators the right to brag about 2,000 naira to $1. So it's really a very shaky scenario.
And just for follow your loom there, the way you defend the naira is that the Central Bank of Nigeria will sell dollar and buy naira. So the Central Bank of Nigeria would take their reserves, they will sell their reserves to BDCs, then buy naira. This will cause the dollar to fall and naira to rise. The problem is that the Central Bank has no reserves. And the reserves, we all know their reserves. JP Morgan has revealed that they have less than 5 billion. Let's assume they get even more billions from someone else. Let's say Father Christmas come and give them more money. The point is that money is finite. It's finite. We know exactly where it's going to stop. So this money would have made sense if they get it and then they are doing reforms, like they've removed fuel subsidy. Then we can say, okay, this buys them time, then they do fuel subsidy. But it seems that they've gone back on the fuel subsidy and they will, with the spending is back. That's just my fear that we are doing forward sales. Remember, there's NNPC 3 billion forward sales to Afrexim. We want to go to JP Morgan and do forward gas sales as well. What happens in Nigeria if, for God forbid, we cannot meet those forward sales of our oil and gas? What then happens? What's the risk? What's the fallback?
It's going to put the naira at a very deep fall.
There will be no naira over there.
I think one of the problem I fear also is that to be honest with you, I don't see the federal government getting this liquidity this year, because we had India first. It went to Dubai. It went to Saudi Arabia. Getting FX is not this complicated. We've seen billionaires getting FX within weeks. Bloomberg data can affirm that. So I think a lot of countries are kind of very cautious, and institutional investors are kind of very cautious about dropping those funds, because, let's be honest, the president came to power May. We are at November. We've not seen even the African multinational bank, 3 billion. We've not seen. We've not seen Indians promise. We only saw promise. We've not seen commitment. We've not seen Dubai's. Now we're talking about Saudi Arabia. So the question right now is that, well, those funds might come in, but at the time we need it, it seems that, so the major issue we have here is that we have so many leaks. I was looking at just the amount of funds the political elite spent on SUV since President Tinubu took power. That alone is about a week trading volume on the NEFA market. So we have so many leaks in the market, and we're not even making proper use of the limited amount of resources we have. So I think for me, speculators right now are on the driving seat, because what you just really need right now is for you to have that dollar liquidity to push the naira, because a lot of, just like you complain, a lot of companies are complaining about FX losses. We still had FX losses by companies in the third quarter. So it's really a very sorry state, Carl.
And let's just round this up. I get out to speak, right? The easiest way or the easiest route for Nigerians to get dollars is remittances. Nigerians that know Nigeria can ignore a few things and say, hey, I'm going to put money in Nigeria. The problem with remittances is that it's based on the trust Nigerians have in their government. So I speak to many guys abroad, and they're telling me, Carlo, are you mad? How can we put money in Nigeria so I use it and buy SUV? My mouth to shut up. You know, I was dragging the diaspora. I was dragging them seriously from last year that you guys should invest more. Now I don't have mouthing. They finished me online. Say, Carlo, so we should give money so they'll go and buy it. Tell us now. You can't talk again, because the government, the guys in power are tone deaf and optics blind. Totally. The National Assembly is saying we cannot cut any fees or we cannot cut any expenses. So who should cut now? Is it I that should cut? When you as a government guy cannot cut, but you want the workers to cut. The workers have only gotten 5,000 naira increment on their minimum wage, but you are buying yourself an SUV. And they don't see the tone deafness of it all. It's appalling. Let me get I got data. Iyang Jr. Iyang, please go ahead, sir. Iyang Jr.
Good evening, Mr. Carlo.
How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your audio is a bit Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I think I'll just make it very quick on inflation. I think the biggest problem with inflation here is infrastructure. So I saw a video on my timeline, and there was a trailer carrying goods that was submerged in a ditch in somewhere in Benue State.
Not submerged. Not submerged. They were trying to dig a new road. That was the Nsukka 9th Mile Enugu Road. That's the road that brings your yams. The yams you eat from Benue down. So it wasn't a ditch. They're trying to dig a brand new road, and it's clay soil, so they can easily dig. That's what's going on. I'm going to share the video, guys. Go to my video. Go to my TL. You see it. I'll share it again. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. And I think if the roads leading to Benue, which is like the feedback state of the federation, is not properly tarred, it's not properly done, so that food can easily come. So we have a situation where some of this food is being is get spoiled on the way to when it's coming to other parts of the country. And I think the government should just focus on things like this, because I think I was on a space the other day, and the former chief statistician of the federation was talking about how even when government decides to spend on infrastructure, sometimes they don't look at the data, they don't look at the critical infrastructures that would have direct effect on the regular citizens. So they would probably spend on things that would not really necessarily affect citizens.
Well said.
Spend on
Well said. Yeah. I mean, well said. You're completely correct. I'm not going to cut you. You're very correct. Ebonyi State is spending 50 million United States dollars. Let me say it again. 50 million United States dollars, Ebonyi, to build an airport. Ebonyi makes rice, Abakaliki rice, a lot of Abakaliki rice. 50 billion can connect Abakaliki to the to the railways of Nigeria. So they can get that rice and export that rice to Lagos. And they can start to make a lot of money because Ebonyi is the poorest state in the entire southern Nigeria. The poorest. But they are spending, like you said, they are spending their infrastructure funds on an airport. 50 million United States dollars on an airport, one airport. So you see, that's what you're saying. I agree with you, sir. Let me get Cyrus in here because thank you so much, Young. I appreciate your call. Your audio is a bit bad, but I think we got your call. Cyrus, please go ahead. Young, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you, sir. Cyrus, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carlo. I've always been wanting to speak in your space, but one way or the other, I've not had the opportunity. I think I actually enjoyed the conversation so far, particularly on food inflation. Because I think that actually is a food carry, for food items, people can't afford it anymore. Of course, if you go with the NBS figure, you see food is hovering around 31%, 32% about. I saw a report just today, I guess, that the price is the early part of 2024. And we also know that the United period.
Cyrus, your audio is bad. I'm sorry. You're going to fix that audio. Fix that audio for me,
my network, pardon me. Okay, can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
All right. So I said that we also know that the United periods are pushing. I mean, the season periods are pushing, and food items are going to go even way up. But my own approach to this whole thing basically is that I think, of course, we all know there's insecurity, there's the issue of logistics, there's the issue of subsidy removal, which actually affect, cost of transportation of, transporting of.
Yes, I'm going to let you fix that audio. Let me get Lucky. Lucky, come in here. Cyrus, fix your audio. Cyrus, your audio is really, really bad. Let me get Lucky in here. Cyrus, fix it and then give me a hand up. I'll add you back up.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Lucky. Go ahead.
Okay. So Mr. Kalu, thank you for this whole thing. You mentioned Ebonyi State's spending on this irrelevant, not really irrelevant, but unnecessary.
Not unnecessary. That
not free.
An airport. An
hello,
airport
can
is
you hear me?
yes, but hold on. An airport is necessary. Ebonyi does not need an airport now. There is nothing wrong with an airport. If the private sector builds an airport in Ebonyi, super. But Ebonyi does not need an airport now with its demographics and social infrastructure the way it's set up now. It's like my gatesman buying Hugo Boss shirt. His shirt not good, but why is he buying Hugo Boss? Go ahead, sir.
So I've come to realize that governors or leaders, most governors or presidents tend to concentrate on projects that are in tune with their area of expertise. So Engineer Dave Umahi is a civil engineer. All he knows is project construction. Before he was governor, Samigu was a lecturer, a professor in agriculture. So he focused on human capital development in his 8 years as governor. The guy after him was focused on rural development. So I think Umahi probably saw a gap, an infrastructural gap in the States, and he wanted to address that and pave the way for the new guy to do something else. Now, the new guy's focus now is on human capital development as well. So he's trying to empower or improve small businesses in the States, giving people soft loans and stuff like that. This is your defense.
Oga, chill out. Oga, wait. Nobody has challenged the flyovers in Ebonyi or the rural roads in Ebonyi. Nobody has challenged it. As a matter of fact, it's a source of pride in Ebonyi that they are building flyovers. It's a source of pride and you should do more of it. We are talking about the airport. You can't say you want to pave the way by investing $50 million. They can do an airstrip. If they need an airport, really an airport, you can do an airstrip. What's it? Aero used to fly into one tiny airstrip in Warri. Do something like that. So you say, okay, for private jets, they can fly into Ebonyi. That's fine. So let's not sugarcoat it. It's destruction of capital. Money is fungible. The cost of that airport is the cost of not having schools, medical care, and other flyovers. in Ebonyi. That's the cost of that airport. It's 50 million United States dollars. 50, not 5, 50. Even in America, if you invest 50 million in any project, the president himself will call you. Even in America. So I get what you're saying, but I don't buy it. You ever come back and move to the next guy?
Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. Lifted, go ahead, sir. Lifted, go ahead.
Yeah, Carlo, it's such a pleasure to be here, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, so a quick point. I don't even want to go back to the Ebony point because, Carlo, you made it very clear that if you're in a certain capacity as a state, there are things you should be going for. The Enugu airport is even underused as far as I'm concerned, but let's not even go there. So, Ebony is getting an airport. It's like it's a craze for all the governors. Getting an airport. Which one again? Anambra got an airport, Asaba is there. But let me even talk about this inflation of a thing and the bailout, the impact, because at the end of the day, it's looking as if governments and government people in the country, they have a lot of misplaced priorities. In the situation this country is in now, you look at a lot of things, they are not looking for ways to bail out companies that are distressed. They are not looking for ways to get incentives to investors. They're not in order to invite these investors over to, boost the economy. But they are more interested in things that will kind of finesse their own pockets. I'm not saying that government or government people should not, finesse their own pocket. But you can do that and still implement what you are elected there to do. How is it possible? You can even look at your own targets and do 40% of it. If you can just be able to deliver 40% of your promises to people, it will improve a lot of things.
Let's say 10%. Lifted. Let's say 10. Let's break it down. Let's say I become governor and I say in one senatorial zone I'll build one express road, one school, one hospital. That's all. So every year I'll build 3 express roads, 3 schools, 3 hospitals. That's all. I will chop the rest. That's all. No, I'm just saying. I
don't care.
Every month, you know how much I get every month? I get 3 to 5 billion as a state governor. 3 to 5 billion. So I say this every year, one road in one senatorial zone, one school, just one school, one hospital every year. So in 8 years or 4 years, we'll have 8 standard roads, 8 standard schools, 8 standard hospitals. There is no, I use this quote all the time, Lifted. There is no local government in Nigeria, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the richest black nation in Africa, the giant of Africa. There is no local government in Nigeria today that you can put the tap on and drink the water. From 1960 till 2023, there is none. Whether it's PDP, APC, military, there is none that you can drink the water from the tap. So what are we arguing about now?
It's so sad.
They'll tell you to go to Anambra.
Just like you were saying right now, if a private sector is building an airport for
no problem,
the government benefits because it's 100% taxable. These are avenues. Government must not be doing everything. Invite the private sector, give them incentives, let them do these things. It's a win-win for everybody. Government make money, the private sector make money.
The town I go to in America has 3 airports, not city. The town I go to has 3 airports. 1, 2, 3. Not the problem. They're all built by farmers. One is built by a school. 3 airports. 1, 2, 3. No government money. So if you want to build airports, give tax breaks and say if you build an airport here, the state will never tax you for 25 years. Then see if the private sector is going to come. If they don't come, Lagos can.
The only state in Lagos in the country that's even using like 25% of investors is Lagos. That's why it looks as if everybody wants to.
Lagos can build 10 airports, no problem. Lekki has an airport. Ikeja has an airport because they can afford it. They can afford it. Lekki, but you go to Ebonyi, how many folks fly? Even in Enugu, forget Ebonyi, in Enugu, this is the government state capital for the eastern region. They want to go and build. Well, Lifted, good call. Let me get. Cyrus, I see your hand. Sorry, if your audio fixed now, Cyrus. Sorry, if I take you off, just go down to create space. Cyrus, if your audio is fixed, you can go ahead very quick for you, sir. Very quick.
All right. Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Go ahead, sir.
All right. So I think what you're actually talking about is very, very accurate, and I think it borders on the issue of central planning by our government.
True.
And the way I see it, I think we don't understand that any economic arrangement that you can have, any kind of investment you can have as a government, it's all about trade-offs. Our government does not understand the language of trade-offs. There's no solution anywhere. There's no fixed solution anywhere. If you are investing in something, you are losing in something. And that brings me back to the issue of the food inflation that we're talking about. If you look at for me, the food inflation is in twofold. Of course, there's the issue of the insecurity, the logistic issue, the issue of, you can talk about those things. But if you look at it also, since 2013, I guess, we've reviewed our import tariffs on importation of things like wheat and salt and sugar and all of those things. I think on wheat about 85%, if I'm correct. The supplemental tax on this about 85%, on sugar is about 75%, on salt is about around that percentage also. And since that time, if you look at the trajectory, and what is the rationale behind it? We are saying we want to support domestic output, we want to support local production, and that's our rationale behind it. But if you look at it from that time on, those items have been going up. Those items have been going way up.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Cyrus. Cyrus, let's take it very quick. Go ahead.
All right. So those items have been going way up. So I think that of course, there are different ways whereby you can actually encourage local production and domestic production. And I'm for local production and domestic production, by the way. There are stimulus, there are subsidies, there are all this kind of tax breaks and tax waivers you can give them. But when you have a situation whereby food prices just keep going up, and you are shutting up your borders, nobody's talking about the southern borders that are shut, of rice. Of course, CBN removed some of these items from their list, but it's not the role of CBN, by the way. It's the role of the agents like custom and all of those things. And if you look at it, there's a story that came out of recent that the customer saying that because of the waiver, they lost about $1.2 billion thereabout, under the Biden administration, which I found quite interesting because it was not a loss. It's just that they were not able to rake in that money at the expense of the consumers.
Well said.
Because if you're
very good, but well said. I like that you clarified that customs cannot lose money. Customs can only reduce the cost of doing business. So I agree with you. Well said. But let me, Cyrus, round up if you don't mind.
I didn't get that.
Can you round up if you don't mind, sir, so I can add it?
Okay, yeah. So I think, and lastly, if you're talking about inflation, everybody knows that inflation is the responsibility of the government. No corporation, no corporate business, no individual, nobody can cause inflation. It's government that's responsible for inflation. And of course, you mentioned the issue of wasteful spending, whether it's the Lagos can one that was opened by Funsho Dorothy, by the way, kudos to him, by the way, or maybe other states like that. And again, it all borders on the lack of understanding of trade-offs. We must understand that the government cannot do everything. They cannot be at the primary driver's seat of the economic arrangement of this country. We have to ensure that, yes, of course, there are certain things they can do and certain they cannot do. So all these blockades they are putting on economic activities and market expansion, I think we need to start taking them off one by one to encourage more output in those areas. So that's my own take on it, by the way.
Super. Thank you so much, Cyrus. Haruna, how are you doing? Haruna, welcome to the party. Haruna, I hope you can hear me. I want to ask you.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing?
Well, I'm very good. Haruna, before you even talk, have you seen how we are spending money in Nigeria?
Yep. Hello, am I audible?
You are very audible. Go ahead.
The problem is that both our macro and microeconomics are being managed by people that don't understand, or maybe we don't have a priority in this country. Are we for agricultural sustainability? Are we for infrastructural development? Or where are we heading to? we did not even define where we are going to as a country. We had an agricultural revolution that was coming up. You can't expect to have a boom just within 8-10 years span in the agricultural sector. Something that will pick up with time. Now you've come in trying to reduce the inflation. You've cleared more goods to come into the country. But do you know that those goods coming into the country, Customs just announced that they've reviewed their dollar, their exchange rate that they used to clear goods now to 770 point something or so. Now look at it. Where won't you have inflation? What is the cost? What is the cost of the farmer? What is the cost that he puts into his farming from beginning to up to harvesting? You're using tractors, you are buying diesel at 1,300 naira. You are buying fertilizer at about 35,000, depending on the fertilizer you're going to use. And all sorts. Petrol is at 600. So how are you going to marry this now? Just this layman economics.
Haruna, let's speak plainly. It is not profitable for you to be a farmer in Nigeria. You cannot compete with others. That's why when I say import, I get that when I say import, it will kill Nigerian jobs. But a Nigerian farmer cannot compete. You are farming. You come here all the time, Haruna, and I bring you up.
Yeah.
You've told us how you pay for people to take motorcycle in your farm, how you guys scrape a living, no support from the government. A farmer when I went to America, I went to a farm specifically. The diesel they use in that farm is a special diesel. It's colored purple, so it's sold at a cheaper price. This is America, or free capitalist America. Their diesel is sold at a cheaper price for only farmers. So it's a different color. And if you drive in rural areas, the police will stop you. They have a special torch that they will shine in your tanker, in your fuel tank, to see if you're using that gas that farmers are supposed to use. So if you have a private car, if they stop for anything, they will look at your tank and see if you are using that special diesel to run your operations. This is just fuel. Just fuel alone. This is how the government of America supports them. So how can your own wheat in your farm in Potiskum be cheaper than wheat from a farm in Iowa? It's not possible. So the thing to do is to say we do not have a comparative advantage in food production in Nigeria at the moment. So import food. Let the price of food crash. That brings inflation down. Then simultaneously start a program to do rural infrastructure. What MAMSA, what MAMSA did in those days? Rural infrastructure. That's what China did. Raise rural infrastructure.
You're talking of DFRI.
DFRI. What DFRI did, that can then raise your output to compete with Iowa. Right now, you can't compete with a farmer in Iowa. You're wasting your time.
But do you know, Kadu, we are talking of diesel. America subsidized agriculture up to the tune of $300 million annually, if not more.
Of course.
Annually. Yes, they do. But here, what subsidy do I have as a farmer? I'm on my own. I buy my diesel. I buy my fertilizer at a higher price. I pay for anything. And in fact, we in the north, you pay for protection of your farmland, your farm. You have security men going around the farm 24 hours. 24 hours on bikes, You have vigilantes. Now, can you imagine what you spend weekly foiling those bikes to be going around the farm?
And Haruna, farming is the largest employer of labor in Nigeria. Farming is the largest employer of labor in Nigeria. Is the largest contributor to GDP in Nigeria. So look at it this way: the largest employer of labor, the largest contributor to GDP in Nigeria, is not working. That's why the economy is not growing. The largest component of our economy, which is agriculture, is not functional. How can you have a farmer worrying about bandits, worrying about diesel, forget about seeds and fertilizer, bandits? So we're not going anywhere, and the government is not addressing it. What are they worried about? Yachts. There is no. Who is the agricultural minister? I haven't heard him speak. And when he does speak, someone say he wants to buy fertilizer. Where is the plan in this? Where is the plan to create wealth at the rural areas? We are going around the world begging for money from Saudi, India, Turkey, everybody. Where is your plan? You have ginger in the north, wasting, cocoa in the west, wasting. Why can't you export these things? Julius Berger is exporting cashew nuts. So they see the value, but we don't see the value. Man, this is crazy. Hannah, you guys are farmers. You guys are on your own. You're on your own.
You have that money to do these things. Why not bring up the factories to come down here, improve the value chain of our produce? Nothing to improve.
Let me tell you a story. Let me
be very honest with you. The wasteful is not even wasteful. It's useless. You use a term that you even glorify the spending. It's useless spending because this is an expenditure that does not translate to the rural people. These are expenditures that are only meant for the top people there at the top ladder. So we continue funding luxury. We just continue funding luxury, not to develop our economy.
Harna, very quickly, tell me what you can do if I give you 7 million naira for your farm. What would you do with 7 million naira in your farm?
Nothing. 7 million is just nothing on my farm. I just imported a tractor now. Before it's come, I think it's supposed to birth by tomorrow or next. They are telling me my tractor, I have to pay up to 2 million to clear it.
What about 50 million?
Only. Okay, now how much did I buy the tractor? I bought it for like 7,500 euro, and now I'm going to pay. And then the shipping quite okay. I loaded it on a truck, but even the truck that I loaded it on now, I'm paying. Okay, the shipping I'm to pay 6,250 euro for shipping it, right? Now, customs are charging me 4.7 million naira for the truck.
Wait. Why is customs charging? It's not an agricultural product. Why are they charging? It's not supposed to be free.
That is what I'm telling you. That is it. They are just lying. Saying that the agricultural implement coming to the country free is a lie. I'm telling you, it's a lie. I have to finish with custom, go to port terminals, then settle them, then finish with them, pay them for their own parking and so on, and I'm paying 6,250 euro for shipping. And now in Nigeria, I have to clear these goods now. I'm heading towards 7 point something million. Then I have to pay for now diesel. I'm going to use like 500 liters of diesel to move it down north. So calculate how much the money is. Whereas now I'm bringing an agricultural tractor that I'm supposed to use on my farm. I'm even thinking twice about it.
So in
because
effect,
the way I wanted, then the way the country is going is discouraging to be a farmer.
So Haruna, just so I can understand what you're saying. You are saying that you, as a farmer in the north of Nigeria, have invested nearly $10,000 to bring in a tractor to improve your yields, but the Nigerian Customs Service is charging you import duties, even though they have said that there is no VAT, there is no import duty on agricultural products. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they are lying. That's what I'm saying. They are lying. And when the guy clears it, I will send the duty, what I paid for the duty to you so that you see it.
Oh, wow.
That is, I will send it to you so that you see the cost of the what custom charge me. You see the heading. You see what they charge for the truck, and you see what they charge for the tractor. It's just a Ford Tractor 85. Just Ford Tractor. You are giving me this useless bill. Previously, we don't pay this much. Like 2 years ago, you bring in even, let's say, assuming 307 into the country, you pay 350, 450,000 naira to clear it with custom. But now you pay 1.7 million naira to clear it. Why are cars expensive now? Why is the port empty now? Why are people taking their cars to Cotonou now? Why are they passing in Cotonou and then driving them into the country?
Hannah, whenever you Hannah, when you come, you pour cold water on our Oyibo talk, because you give us the facts. You give us the facts from the field. And what you're saying is really depressing. Very depressing. And I'd like to get that paper from you. I will do a special space and I'll write a special article. I want to get that paper from you because if you can't grow yield, that's what we're talking about now. You are inflation now. If you can't bring food prices down, then what are we talking about? And what you're telling us here is doing what the government is saying. So it's I don't know. I'm depressed now.
You have to be depressed because these are the realities on ground. People, you see, a lot of people talk based on sentiments or whatever. But we're talking Nigeria. We're talking how do you bring the prices of food down? There's no way, man. There's no way. You can't. Because what I went through, only God knows what I went through. Then you expect me now to sell a bag of meat for 30,000? I cannot do that. Because the cost of production is even if per bag now is heading to about if you practicalize it now, break it down and divide what you input, the quantum of money you put into the production per hectare up to harvest, and you divide it, you see the cost of the per bag you will be jumping to between 28,000 to 29,000 naira. 29,000 naira.
So long and short, Hannah, last one, just our folks that are following. If food inflation does not come down in Nigeria, Naira can never gain value. So just hear what I'm saying.
The food inflation we're talking about, you remember the other time we discussed on this same food inflation, but not related to wasteful spending on your space. People are just being myopic. How much does a farmer put into this for business? How much do you put into the production from start to harvest? Then you correlate it with the reality on ground with the market. And don't forget that you have middlemen that will come and pick up these grains. They will top something on top. Then think of transporting it down to Lagos and selling it at Mile 2 market. How much is this? These trucks that ferry these goods up from north to south, how much? Least you get is about 1.5, 2 point something million naira. Because he uses diesel, maybe the driver leaving the north will use 950 to 1,100 liters of diesel. How much is that if you calculate it? 1 point something million. Then what did he do? And do? He's into business too. He must make money. And then you divide that cost of diesel transportation per bag, and then you top it on the bag. So at the end of the day, it is we, the ordinary people, that suffering.
All right, no problem. No problem. I hear you. Lumde has heard you. We've heard you. No problem. We'll take it. This is it's 6 months in, and I don't see any plan to address what you've said. I see budgets. I see plan to borrow. I don't see a plan to address what you've just said, which is the reality on ground. If this small boy comes here, he will say the exact same thing. So I was going to do a space for farmers to come. I'm going to invite you, this small boy, the other guy, just to talk the reality of what you guys see on the field. Because, these guys are giving policy and we're not really seeing it. So I'm going to do a special space on farmers. And we'll bring you in, sir. Let me get Oluwa Tobiloba Adegoke. How are you, sir?
Yes, good evening. I'm fine. Good evening, everyone. Can we all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me tonight. So, it's wonderful we're talking about this kind of topic tonight. So, before I actually go on with what I want to share with everyone tonight, I just want us to, I know we have economists and we have lawyers in our midst, and Nigeria is actually, I don't know. Let me just go straight to what I have to say. So I just want to talk particularly on the aspect of Nigerians. When are we going to start to be asking questions about how things are being done in this country? Because it is actually very frustrating. I studied agricultural economics in school. We did a lot of things, and we're taught to how farmers can actually produce and government can come to their aid when they have excess production. You understand? I've been thinking, what is so difficult in government trying to build some storage facilities across states? It is not a taboo for, at times it happens whereby farmers will have a high yield And it's just, for instance, at times when we travel from somewhere to another place, you see products getting wasted. Maybe there's a massive production. For instance, I have an example. Then when I was in school, where I schooled, we had a place whereby they have volumes of production of mango. You understand? And the mango will be so surplus that it will, at the point, just get to be wasted. And it just be like, wow, really? We are really blessed in this country, but like we have been saying, we have bad governance. And it is just high time when Nigerians start to ask questions. I don't know, like I said, before I started, I said, do we have economists? We have lawyers in this place. It is high time we start to have a community. You understand? We work together, and it is high time that Nigerians have to see Nigeria
I think
as their business.
I hear you. Let me just make the point. I think we get the gist of what you're saying. If you want to get the best policies in the world, look at Nigeria. Look at Nigeria. The Vision 2020 policy document beats anything I've seen in the US, anywhere in the world, even the Chinese model. We have the policies, we have the plans, we have the programs. The implementation is where we fail. These silos you're talking about, if you look on the budget or the plan or on the food master plan, you will see silos, you will see all this in paper. If you drive to the north, you see silos everywhere. But go through those silos, maybe they're empty. So it's implementation, my brother, and like you said, holding people to account.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for bringing that in. So fine, it's good. It's good that we have it in plans, but the implementation, that goes back to our bad leaders, bad government and all that. So leaving that aside, I say about that things that I think I have been, as an economist, as an agricultural economist, I've been thinking so well that in our value chain, agricultural value chain, I think something is missing. And what I've always known since the time I've, is that there is no price control system. For instance, imagine a farmer produced something huge, something good, and we have someone who will buy this thing at a wholesale price. For instance, like let me cite an example. I'm a yam farmer. I have a huge production. I have this thing, and someone will come to my farm and say, okay, young man, I want to buy this yam of yours at the price of per truck, maybe let me say 25,000 naira. And you buying this yam from me, 25,000 per truck, you taking it to the farm, to the market. You try to, after you've bought this thing at a very ridiculous price for me as a farmer, you now take it to the market, now starting to sell it at a very high price. I think government has to start to do something in
hold on.
A price system.
Hold on. Let me just say something.
Okay,
right?
thank you.
Hold on. Just stay with me. Stay with me. In America right now, it's going to be Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be Thanksgiving this week. During Thanksgiving, they all eat turkeys. They buy a lot of food. So it's like our own version of Christmas or Salah. Our own version of Christmas or Salah. In Nigeria, during Christmas or Salah, food prices go up. In America, during their Thanksgiving or festivals, food prices go down. America does not have a price control board. What they have is free market and excessive supply. If you try to increase the price of your goods in America, you will lose market share because the competition with lower prices will take your customers away from you. The problem is not food board to buy or to mandate prices. The problem is to allow production to expand. So there's competition. It is competition that will drop the prices. Just heard Haruna say now that he will never sell his bag of maize for below a certain price. Would you force him to sell his bag of maize at below his cost of production? You can't. The best you can do is to pay him if you're the government. But the only way you drop prices is competition, output, power supply, roads. Then the farms have a higher yield. If you go and do marketing board, you are simply doing black market. Haruna will sell you some and he will sell the rest to the real buyers at the real price. So the real way is competition. Just like MTN and Glo. MTN's price came to per second because Glo came with per second. Good point. Okay, let's move on. I got you. Let's get Louis.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir. Louis Apoveso. Louis, you go ahead, sir. You got the floor.
Thank you so very much. I was actually hoping that you would call my other name.
I can't now. How? No.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think that the conversation has been very, very enlightening. I want to take a different spin on it. In light of the several issues that are plaguing us, I want to look at it from the perspective of personal finance, building a personal finance portfolio. What are the things that people should look forward to in 2024? And I want to see if I can get your thoughts around it. I personally will be looking at stocks, real estate, maybe Nigerian Euro bonds, maybe businesses that will be export, inclined. But as Mr. Haruna and everybody else has said, is looking really, really difficult. I like to think that I'm solution oriented, and just narrowing down to personal finance. What would your thoughts or anybody on the space's thoughts be around your personal finance portfolio? What are the instruments that you should be looking at for 2024? So that's my question/contribution. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
An interesting question, and I think you have to look at where do you think that there's going to be consumption in, then you go ahead and you buy or you be in that sector. Let me give you a good example. If the budget came out and they said we're going to build lots of homes for poor people, all that kind of stuff, I'll go and buy cement, aluminium roofing sheet companies, those kind of companies, because that's where the money from the government's going to go to, which then hence to push up their stock prices, right? If they say they're going to build roads with cement, Dangote cement is there, you want to buy it. If they say anything around maybe the regulation of fuel prices, all that kind of stuff, then you don't go to downstream. This is the question. So what I'm trying to say is this: there's no direction. If you look at the budget, you don't see any clear direction where the government wants to go to. Are they going to do import substitution, or are they going to push export? Are they going to push agriculture, or are they going to push services? We can't have a clear direction. So we really can't plan. So what can we do is we can try to prepare for eventualities. So 2024, you want to be ready. You want to have your ammunition ready, right, to take advantage of situations. I don't like the Naira right now, simply because I don't like the spending that is happening right now. The yields on the Naira, I think, are going to start to go up. I hear they want to increase interest rates to attract foreigners to bring money to Nigeria. That's what I hear. So if you have a currency you can easily convert to Naira to take advantage of that high interest rate, probably that's something you want to do. Overall, you want to ask yourself, how long do you want to invest? If you're a short-term investor, maybe you shouldn't look at Nigerian equities at all. You should then play that short-term, take your money from bank to bank and try to make a return. It won't beat inflation. If you're a longer-term investor and you think you can invest in Nigeria, this might be the best time to invest when things are quote-unquote bad, because you might be buying those companies at a lower earnings multiple. So the PE of Nigerian stock market is very, very low. So if you are buying now, you might be buying good companies at a lower earnings multiple. That's maybe how you want to look at how you want to put your money between bonds and equities. But I like you to be also look at investing abroad and earning dollars, which you can do from Nigeria. With all these apps that they have now, you have that option to diversify away from simply holding one currency. That's broad view. What I will say, Limited can give you more direct insight into 2024, how you should position yourself. But I would just say we have to have the signal. The government is not going to invest, but they give a signal on where the activity will be, and that's where you want to go and position yourself. Olumide, do you want to take up this question as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to some of the points that was being analyzed. So back to the agricultural issue we have in Nigeria. I also think the financial system, if you look at the United States, just like you rightly said, rather than using price control board, they have a commodity exchange, and I'm actively a trader on that market, so I could tell you that it also influenced, and it has been very competitive Farmers don't worry about their products being bought or sold. Contracts are sold by investment banks, which are sold to speculators, and that also brings market efficiency. That's why some people tell you that speculators also promote efficiency. But you could see how they use it to their advantage. So I think that's positive. I think for Nigerian stocks, I think this year has been one of the, since I've been monitoring stocks, I've not seen a year better than this, and I'll tell you for many reasons. Just the worst performing stock on the NGX is just down less than 50%. The best performing stock is up by 900% this year. In fact, there was a stock that listed this month, macro industry, pharmaceutical company, is almost up by 100%. So the take what investment banks will take. First of all, I think you need to understand that despite the concerns about the Naira, there are so much opportunities in the NGX, but you have to be smart about it. You have to understand market cycles. You have to have spot on relationship with your investment banks. Stanbic ETF, this is that tracks the blue chip stocks, is up 5 times this year. It was around, and this is something just to tell you that it's not just a matter of strong fundamentals. These stocks are highly undervalued. So the FX market had also even suppressed their performance, because if FPIs have been involved in the market, this is a market that has a ratio of 9 domestic investors to 1 FPI. For every 10 investors, 9 is a local investor, the other one is an FPI. So just imagine if it was much more on the FPI side. So next year, you just have to be very cautious. I think for investors, you have to look at stocks that are going to be listed. The Treasury bond market, just like I said, the Treasury short-term have been attracting a lot of buying pressure because yields have become much more attractive. The MPC meeting is coming in some days' time. Because of high inflationary pressure, it's been anticipated that high interest rate hike might be on the table. So these are concerns. But the fear of all these things is that the government has made the FX market headache for investors. We have 2 downgrades from FTS Russell, MSCI Russell on blue chip stocks like Goodboa, Dangote, GT. So while you could say that these stocks are still doing well, on the longer side, it has put a cap on them. So until we fix our FX market, I would just say you have to be very cautious.
Good on Lumide. I mean, just to recap Lumide, if you are buying, you want to invest according to your objectives. Don't chase returns. So if you are older, don't try to go to the stock market because it's very, very volatile. Just make that clarification again for you. You invest according to your objectives that you want to get from the market, not because of returns. So don't chase, this is 20%, I'm going to go there. Invest according to what you want to achieve. This is a long-term, short-term. You want to save for retirement, invest accordingly to match the assets to your objectives. Does that really give you some clarity, Mr. Lewis?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I got Mohammed Okoye. Go ahead, sir. Mohammed Okoye? Okay, I got David E. David Ezumchi. Please go ahead when Mohammed gets ready. Mohammed, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
I'm not sure who is speaking. Is it David or Mohammed?
Hello.
Okay, David, hold on. Mohammed, go ahead. Mohammed, go ahead. David, hold on.
Let me pause so that Mohammed can speak.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, hi. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Good evening. So I'm going to make this short. Yeah. Everything we've said. First of all, astute coverage on the inflation. I can't really see any way out. But the structural issues you mentioned, I mean, all the things, even what Haruna said there, I almost shed a tear when I heard him talk because there are really no easy solutions. So everything boils down to 3 things. You have infrastructure, you have energy, and you have you also have what do you call it? The Naira stability. Okay. So what fixes all this? From a macro standpoint, I'm looking at the fiscal space we have to do budgets. And you're right on the wasteful spending. But I also think we need to take a more microscopic look at the budget before we criticize the numbers. Let's not forget that most of these things are denominated in naira, and naira has really lost its value over a very short period of time. So that's it. But how do we fix all these problems I just mentioned? Okay, infrastructure, you need money. And that's why we're going to Saudi, we're going to Islamic Development Bank. Now, Islamic fund chasing in the Middle East is an idea I actually conceptualized in my blog, Zero Equilibrium. But why? Because a deep dive into the intricacies of Islamic financing and the principles upon which these contracts will be established as loan contracts makes a highly different perspective. Why? Three major things. Number one, payback is tied to profit. So profit potential of the said infrastructure is what the borrower, the investor is looking at, not the spending habits of the government, which needs to be really checked. But that's one. Number two, that would improve our fiscal space because, on that Islamic financing principle, you can't really pay back if you've not started making some form of
hold on. Mohammed,
on the monetary side,
Mohammed,
there are currency swap arrangements that could be made. Okay, sorry.
Just to clarify, I think what they want to do is just to place money in the central bank, just to buy almost treasury bills. The same thing they did with Turkey. So the Bank of Saudi Arabia will simply buy open markets instruments issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's what they want to do, and that would inflow dollars. Yeah. So it's not they're not going to invest in Nigeria per se. It's just that this is what they do.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that clarification. That still makes for a very tricky situation. But these are my ideas. My idea is, number one, we look for these funds in the right way, in a way that kind of ties the revenue or you're getting from these funds to projects that will yield profits, like roads where you can put toll gates on, refineries you could place a PMS tax on, that kind of thing. We need money to flow in. We need energy to be stable, energy prices stable. We need the naira to be stable. So the government seems to be going about this in a totally different way in which I would have gone about it. And I really, simply, none of us here could influence policies. If we could, that would be on this space talking about these problems. But the issue about inflation, it's too deep. But I like what you said about importation, because I remember I've been against your importation talk for a very long time. But tonight, I think you really kind of bridge the gap between my understanding and yours, which I think, you obviously are more experienced in the field. Bringing down prices, it sounds right. It sounds, viable. But I'm also skeptical about what it would do to industrial development, local production, which is not really going great right now. But again, I don't know. This is what I mean by there are no really easy way out. And I hope I've been able to add some form of perspective to things. But yeah, like everything you said, I really do not have a fundamental disagreement with you. Perhaps maybe perspective we could disagree. But from the fundamental side, I think you've made a lot of sense, and I hope I have made some form
I understand where you're coming
sense
from.
to the
Just to be clear, right? So no country can get wealthy by importing. No country can get wealthy by importing. Every country needs to export to get wealth. But there's an economic theory, of course, which called the comparative advantage. If you don't have comparative advantage in something, you don't do it. It's sad to say that Nigeria does not have comparative advantage in mechanized farming. We can farm. We have small, in my village, I have lots of farmers in my village doing cassava. And they breed a lot of cassava, they eat their cassava, they are okay. The problem is Nigeria has got 200 million people. Our birth rate is 3% per annum. So we can't feed 200 million people with smallholder farms, irrigation by rainfall. We can't do that. We can't use fertilizer we have to do mechanized farming, where you are growing crops on large spaces, you are processing those crops, you are storing those crops that are available throughout the year. So that we should stop having things like maize season and mango season in Nigeria. We should have maize 24/7, 365 days. If you go to Walmart in America, there's Nigerian okra 24/7 in Walmart. But there's no Nigerian okra.
If they can achieve that in Walmart, I get you.
Yeah, because they buy it and they store it. They buy it and they store it.
Yeah.
It's not dicey. There is no Naira thing there, Mohammed. Don't make it complicated. If we have you get okra, you blast freeze it, you store it, so that when there's no okra season, you release it.
The issue is this, yeah. Mechanized farming is not just going to improve overnight. There's a process, yeah. Now, within this timeline, we need local producers of certain strategic goods to be protected. I'm an international trade analyst / negotiator for the federal government, not a civil servant, just a consultant. But still, like
what I'm saying is that Nigeria is not.
It's a nightmare to negotiate trade contracts with other countries when you simply do not have more than.
So when should you have started, Mohammed? When should you have started? Nigeria is.
The issue now is how.
Hold on, Mohammed. Nigeria is how old now, Mohammed? How old is Nigeria? I will not giant of Africa. This is the same Nigeria that was feeding other nations. So let's not reinvent the wheel here. We have dropped the ball. We don't have power supply anymore. We are the ones that did it. No one did it. We did it. We used to feed other countries. Now we're importing the same food, right? So we have to take. What is wrong with power? Ghana has solved their power supply at an expensive price, but we haven't. So we have to take responsibility for that. That in 1960, to 2023, we don't have constant power supply. We don't have roads. We don't have rails. We don't have clean drinking water. It's on us. That's really it. Is it Lucky that was supposed to speak? Hannah, your hand is up. Hannah, what's up? You want to say something?
I'm the one that's supposed to speak.
I got you. But let Hannah just make a quick promise. We're talking about agriculture. Hannah, what do you want to say? Your hand is up. David, go ahead.
Kalu, I wanted asking you just a simple question.
Yeah.
You see, this inflation rate got to do with our naira, right? The value of our naira.
It has to do with the price of goods in naira, correct? Yes.
Yeah, in dollars.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay. Now, China, with its massive industrial revolution, the World Trade Organization is tactfully forcing them to like increase the value of the yuan, but they refuse because they are exporting. We that we are importing, that the naira is not weaponized to fight for its value, and then the government is allowing it to get its value. How can it get its value? Why can't we do what Abacha did? Peg the dollar, let the world go gagas. Why can't we do that?
Because you need dollar reserves to peg.
Sam Aluko advised when he was a professor during Abacha, Nigerian Economic Intelligence Commission or something like that. Destabilized, they pegged the naira up to Abacha died. The naira was pegged. So why can't we do it now at an affordable rate so that you are opening your imports, and then you are allowing the naira to float to get its value?
Yeah, Haruna is because the simple answer. You only peg when you have reserves. Abacha built up a lot of reserves. Abacha was building a lot of reserves, so he could peg the naira because he had naira to defend that peg. Sorry, dollars to defend the peg. That's why he could do it. Remember in 2017, the world's economy crashed. Oil prices crashed. The Nigerian GDP grew. Let me say it again. 2017, 2018, and go and Google it. Is it 17 or 20 or 2007 when we had the Great Recession? Olympe, what year was that? Is it 07 or 17? I think it's 07 when we had the global recession. The world economy... 08, good. 07, 08, the world's economy crashed. Oil prices crashed. The Naira and Nigerian economy grew. Why? We had 60 billion reserves. So nobody could mess with us. If you don't have reserves, you can't defend the peg. Abacha grew reserves, and I posted a tweet on that. Abacha economy was very good. Oh, they are still eating my head till today. But facts are facts. The economy under Abacha is better than the economy today. You don't like me saying it, I get it, but facts are facts. Go and pull up the macroeconomic data of how the Nigeria was back then compared to now. and then answer the question by yourself. I know you don't like me saying it, but it's facts are facts. So if you want to peg, you can peg, but reserve to disappear. And that's the simple answer. All right, David, you want to say, who was the guy that was supposed to speak? Was it David? David, please go ahead. The guy that was supposed to speak after. Yeah, David.
Okay.
So,
Hello.
thank you, David.
Evening.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. So, like when we talk about when we're talking about this inflation and the wasteful spending and the rest, I have been thinking about something, and the thing I've been thinking about is the problem with even we Nigerians, with the way we visualize with the way we visualize. Okay, how can the government invest? How can we spend? Is because we are looking at China, we are looking at some other areas, and the truth is we can't compete with China on many things. So for me, I'm looking at, is it not possible that we should look at something like cassava? Nigeria is the biggest producer of cassava. We should look at something like cassava and start looking at how we can start producing starch with local technology. So because if you're producing starch with local technology, what will happen is you'll be able to produce that starch at a lower cost, making it impossible for China for starch to be flowing back into Nigeria from China.
Can I ask you a question?
Because we keep...
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I can hear you.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, how would we produce this starch? Are we going to use a machine to produce this starch?
You can use machine to produce starch, but there are also some other local technologies that you have currently in Nigeria. Some people like some of these grinding machines. Many of them are made locally.
I know, but
so some of those.
But it needs a machine, correct?
Yes.
So does a machine need power supply?
The machine needs power supply, but there are some machines that does not, need much of power supply. There are some machines that are not
so it's not
power intensive.
So it's not a machine.
And that doesn't need much automation and much.
I know,
that doesn't need to import much from outside.
But you can't compete with China if you don't have mechanization, because their machines are mechanized, so their cost is lower. They can do more.
Sorry, sir. You cannot compete with China on many things, but there are some few areas that we have advantage over China. So those few areas that we have advantage over China compete from that place, knock China off that market.
Yeah, but I'm specific to your cassava starch idea. If you take cassava, my village has a lot of cassava, and they do manual conversion of that cassava to gari, manual. So it takes a long process, They tie it, they squeeze the water out, then they dry it by hand, they fry it. It takes almost 2 weeks now. To do more of that, there's this machine from Netherlands that can do it. So that's mechanization, Abi.
Yes. Okay, so like that gari that we are talking about, gari now, the way we have bottleneck in the automation of the gari processing is where you come to something like the grinding and the frying. That's the major areas where you have a bottleneck. There are some of them that.
But that's the main thing. Where I'm going to, David, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, David. Where I'm going to is this, right? I'm saying that the issue is not that we don't know we can do starch. I think the issue is that we cannot do starch because we have no power supply in Nigeria. There's no power supply in my village. There are NEPA lines, but there are generators in my village. For my village to compete, if you go to Chinese villages, they have power supply from the mains. So for my village to compete with a village in China, I have to have good roads, power supply, storage, so that when I get the cassava from my field, the field in my village, I can just process it right there. China, let me give you an example. China gave Nigeria a $1 billion contract, I think it was in 2005, to supply cassava chips for ethanol. Nigeria could not meet up. We couldn't deliver that contract. A long time ago, $1 billion chips, supply chips. We couldn't, because cassava, as you know, is if you get it out of the ground, it dies. We don't have the machinery to process cassava, store it, turn to high-yielding cassava flour without it going... No, cassava has cyanide. So you have to process it carefully. So where I'm going to is that without the infrastructure, you can't do much with food. You can do subsistence farming, but you are never ever going to compete with even Ghana. Forget China, Ghana. You can't compete with Ghana.
For me, I actually think that because if we are looking at the whole infrastructure, like if we are looking at it holistically, we might not really be able to compete in even a long time from now. So we can start from some things like that cassava. And that cassava is one area where, okay, the government of, let me say, I come from Enugu State. Let me say Enugu State government, if they decide to invest into cassava processing, or the money that they are going to invest into it will not be that much. Something like 50 million naira that they invest in, let's say, 4 communities or 4 different local governments can actually make a very big difference. When you focus on the area where you can compete very well, then when you start winning that market, you see how can I start expanding into other markets. But the problem is, here in Nigeria, we are trying to compete with China in many things. Like, okay, let me say something like rice farming now. In Nigeria, one of the major problems that they are facing in rice farming, throughout something like throughout April to this October, they were suffering from insufficient rice paddy. So why can't we focus on, okay, we know that we might not be able to compete with India in terms of the machinery to produce this rice. Why not focus on producing rice at a cheaper rate? Like, I'm not saying that what you are saying is wrong, but I'm saying that the government should focus on not just focusing on opening mills. The government should actually focus on subsidizing this rice farming. When you subsidize the rice farming, the cost of rice will surely come down.
Yeah, but I know. I'll let you speak, David. I'm just saying that I think you are saying things, but really, there is no mechanization drops costs. That's why it's mechanized. The Industrial Revolution drops costs. The reason why you and I can talk on a phone today is because productivity has made this phone so cheap that you have one, I have one, we are talking on the phone. So if you want to, the rice mills in Nigeria need infrastructure. You can't do small rice mills. We're 200 million. We need to do massive rice mills that can drop the cost per bag lower so that we can afford it. So what you're saying is that we should go back to manual. China is not manual. India is not manual.
I'm not saying that we should go back to manual.
So what else are you saying now?
We should actually look at areas where we can channel. The government should look at areas where they can channel this investment and get a faster return.
Which is going to be mechanization.
When I say faster return, I mean area where we can focus and dominate the market easily.
But but the long and short is that.
I can hear you.
No, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
If we can invest in that starch making machinery, we already have advantage of cassava being one of the biggest producers of cassava. If we can invest in the machinery for processing this cassava, instead of them going, just like what you're saying, them going around investing in imports and the rest, that is not going to have direct influence in how much the people in the village and the people that are farming can earn. Then, if we invest directly into this, something like that, starch production, like we as a nation say that, okay, we want to be known as the biggest starch producer within the next 10 years, and we invest in it, investing also in technology, in training people to know how to produce some of these machines for starch and the rest. I believe that within the short and even before 5 years, Nigeria can be the biggest producer.
Okay, David, I hear you. David, I hear you.
David, Mr. Haruna, I don't know if it will be possible to also get to meet you because
David, send him a DM, David. Send him a DM. So, I mean, the thing is this, right? Let me give you a data point real quick. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the whole world. Thailand produces about 10% of the cassava output Nigeria produces, but Thailand has 69% exports and processing of their tapioca than Nigeria does. So Thailand does more and earns more per cassava output than Nigeria. Most of our cassava is in the ground because we can't take it out of the ground. It's going to go bad because we have no processing. So when you say processing, focus China. China could compete with the West because they industrialize their rural areas. They use their cheap labor as the key determinant to keep their costs low. In Nigeria, we have cheap labor, so we have a huge advantage. But you need the machinery to come in and replace the manual labor to give it a more of an advantage, to sort of like to expand your advantage. You can't make agriculture with manual hoe and cutlass. It's not possible. Your costs are going to go up more than China or India or Ukraine. How do you compete with Ukraine if you're not going to bring in combine harvesters? I know what Hannah is saying. He's importing tractor. He has cheap labor in the north, but he's importing a tractor to the north because he has to mechanize. I mean, it's that simple. Let me get Said. Said Abakar. How you doing, sir? Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Hey, how you doing, my brother? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Kaduna.
Hey, hi, Said. Go ahead now.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to what Haruna said. If you look at history, right from the beginning, countries like China and Russia, their first revolution was agriculture. That was their backbone. They focused on it to make sure that everybody can have food on their table. So if we can do something like that in Nigeria, I believe the food inflation will drop. That is one. And also, other sectors can get the manpower to pick up.
I agree. You have to follow. I mean, Said, go ahead. I don't know if you're done. Your audio.
Go ahead.
Your audio is breaking. But let me just say that food should be the number one problem or focus of the administration. If you can bring the cost of food down, you bring inflation down for everybody. It should be the number one focus. Okay.
Exactly. Secondly, security. That is another thing that is affecting agriculture in Nigeria. Insecurity. If there is good security, there is enough security for farmers down in the north, then we can get enough food that will bring down the inflation at this current situation we are in. Because most farmers cannot afford to pay for their farm protection. In some areas, they have to farm the land of those bandits before they farm their own lands. So all those things, if you put them all together, they add up to why the inflation it keeps going up. So I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, good call. It's a simple call, right? Food is expensive. Food is 51% of the consumer price index. So when we measure inflation in Nigeria, we measure a lot of items in a basket. If that basket price goes up, we say inflation has gone up in price. That's what we're saying. So food makes up 51% of that basket. So if you drop the price of food, then you drop the price or the rise of inflation in Nigeria. If inflation rate comes down, then banks are able to reduce their rate of interest, and then we're able to get SMEs loans to grow the economy. So it's all tied in. Food is the issue. You've got to focus on food. If it means importing food for a limited, short period, just to bring down the prices. This is what they did in Zambia, that the prices came down. I've shared examples of Zambia, examples of Georgia. This is what they do. You do a shock treatment, break down the cost, then you buy yourself time to fix your monetary and also your fiscal means to then absorb the cash you're going to go into the system. Right now, you can't bring down inflation by just monetary means alone. It's not going to work. So we have to try other things. Mr. Cube, go for it, sir. You've got the floor, Mr. Cube. Thanks, Said. Mr. Cube going once. Mr. Cube.
Yes, I can.
How you doing, sir? Please go ahead.
Good evening, Cal.
Hey, how you doing? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes,
Yes, we're talking about this inflation, and a lot of things trickle into my mind. Firstly, I'm so curious about this interest rates that the government is looking at increasing, because as wrapping around my head is, what has impacted the Nigerian inflation has been food inflation, especially supply side. So, and increasing this interest rates for me has a negative effect in terms of manufacturing, especially because when you look at it, if you look at the earnings, that is coming out from banks and all of that, banks are doing more than manufacturing. A lot of manufacturing are already, recording some losses and all of that in this year. So, but again, why the increase in interest rates? Because I know that, there are positives for increasing interest rates. But again, it's going to have the more negative effect is too much for Nigeria because, manufacturing has not been doing well. I think this is a period where they should, try and see how to support manufacturing. And what manufacturing needs at this time is actually funding. So if cost of funds is now getting more expensive, I don't know how soon we are going to get out of this inflation that is too much already for Nigeria to pay. And then another point I also want to raise about manufacturing is that if you look at the industrial revolution that we have had, I think in 2000 we have the fourth industrial revolution. Now we are already going into the fifth industrial revolution, which has to do with customizations. You can produce things based on your own customs or in real time. So, and Nigeria, we cannot actually compete with most of these goods that are coming in already. And then increasing the interest rates, for the federal government to be looking forward to increasing interest rates, for me, I think there are more negative side than the positive side for us in Nigeria. I think that's what I just want to say.
Just for the education, right? They have to increase interest rates to fight inflation because they want to reduce money supply. So you have to choose with inflation. You kill inflation by killing it, by killing demand. So when you increase the cost of money, people don't borrow again. So then you reduce the amount of cash in the system. But you kill the economy to kill inflation. That's what they do. It's like chemotherapy. So that's what they're trying to achieve. But in doing that, they then kill the SMEs. But you have to choose. You can't have both of them. You can't have SMEs with cheap funds and inflation low. You either kill inflation and kill SMEs, or you allow SMEs to operate and inflation will then kill everyone. So it's really, you have to choose which one. Ayo, I've got Ayo. Ayo, that's A_. Is it Haro? I'm not sure. Haroya. Ayo with the cap. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ayo, how you doing?
Sorry, thanks for giving me this space. I'm just here to share my experience about agriculture because my dad is a farmer. Like, that's how he started his life, and that's what he has used to send me and my siblings to school. And he also shared the experience him and the village he grew up in, and he started his farm because he's into cocoa. He started with cocoa and palm kernel. Like, those villages, they're like, government is not helping them at all. So they're like sustaining on their own. Even the roads that lead to those villages, they contribute money to create those roads. They contribute money to do everything they are doing. Even the vehicles that they're using, they spoil every time. So they have to keep repairing it, which increase their costs. So all those kind of things, I kind of feel like they contribute to why food and everything is going up, and I just want to share my experience, and that's all.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome. I think it's just, again, it's back to this infrastructure. It's back to the infrastructure issue. If you don't have no infrastructure to get food from the farms to where it's eaten, cost will go up. You can't increase interest rates and fight infrastructure. You've got to actually go in and build those roads. M Cube, I called you in. Are you ready now, sir, Mr. M Cube?
Yes, I think I had but I also want to say something. In addition to what I said before.
Oh, but,
so if you look at what has been happening, in recent times, especially in the manufacturing sector, you see a lot of big brands like DSK, Unilever. A lot of these brands are actually leaving Nigeria, and which is also not a good thing. But of course, the reason they are leaving, we understand a lot of people recorded losses on FX and the rest of it because they had a lot of their raw materials being imported for use. So I understand that aspect. But again, I kind of wrap my head around what Japan is doing, what US is doing. US have increased interest rates about close to 5. The 5th time they have done that. I think as at last year, they gave a blueprint of how they are going to increase interest rate and what is the level it's going to get to. And they have done that. I mean, in recent time they have done that.
Let me have you land. Let me have you get to the point.
But again, if you look at US are not, suffering some of this, what we are suffering. Because for us, I think that we are not just it's not just an inflation for us, it's kind of stagflation. Because if you look at the unemployment rate already, it's already on the high side, which is abnormal. And then if you also look at our inflation also, is way too high. I think for us, the government should be looking at supporting manufacturing as at this point in time, because if they are still looking at, killing the inflation and then using, monetary policies and all of that, of course, it's sort of the good economic practice, but I still, feel that there are some other instruments that the government can use. They have those tools within their beck and call to use to fight this inflation instead of going into monetary policy and increasing interest rate. And again, if you could recall, Kalu, before the Fed began to increase interest rates,
we're
monitoring unemployment.
Let's get you round up.
And then they actually, I now. So you actually look at, what is the unemployment rate? And they actually, that was when they begin to, increase interest rate. For me, I just think can do. If you can share some light on it, what alternative the government can do for them to, bring down this inflation without going into the monetary policy and increasing interest rate.
Yeah, boost productivity. Inflation goes up because there's too much money supply, right? Chasing those few goods. So if you boost productivity, you increase the amount of goods in the marketplace, which means you boost power supply, you reduce the cost of doing business, you build infrastructure. This allows companies to bring out more goods to the market. So this way now you don't have too much money chasing too few goods. You don't have money chasing goods that are available to be purchased. Hence, the cost of those goods then fall. So the way you kill inflation again is productivity. That's why America can print trillions and not have inflation, because the absorptive capacity of the market is very large. They can absorb a lot of capital, create Facebook, Google, that soaks up the capital. But in Nigeria, if you dump $1 billion into a market square, there is nowhere to invest it. You build hotel, filling station, and buy crypto. End of story. What else would you do? Once you build hotel and filling station, what else would you do? You build mini estate. What else? But in America, you can invest in this, invest in that, so you can absorb that 1 billion. That's why you have so much cash lying around not doing anything, right? Okay, Diplo. I got Diplo Soft. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Mr. Kalu. Good evening, everyone. I greet everyone in this space. A very nice topic this evening, and I really want to appreciate Mr. Kalu, especially for sometimes I have always disagreed with your position when it comes to the economy of Nigeria, but I think recently beginning to align with some of the things you are saying concerning the economy of Nigeria. You see, I've seen a lot of people come on spaces. Even tonight, I've heard a lot of it, saying the government should do this, the government should do that. We are speaking as if the government doesn't know what to do. We are speaking as if the government is incapable of bringing up solutions. There is nothing, like Mr. Kalu said the other time, if you look at our plans on paper, they are the best in the world. So it's not about lack of ideas. It's not just about the ideas of what to do. It's just that we have leaders that they don't care about it. It's not their priority. They did not go into that office to do all these things we are talking about here. It's not as if they don't know it. Okay, let's even assume they don't know it. They have SAs, they have SSAs, they have commissioners, they have ministers to bring these ideas. Even the ministers have SA, SSA, and things like that. People that should be thinking for them and giving them ideas. So it's not just about ideas. It's not as if they lack ideas. They travel out to other countries to see how it's done. They know all these things we are saying, China, Thailand, all these things we are saying. They see it, they know them. They know how possible it is. They know what to do. But they are not just interested in it. Because that will make life easy for the people. And when life is easy for the people, it reduces their power that they have on the masses, especially when it comes to their electioneering. And because when you have an educated citizen, when you have educated citizens, when you have people who are doing fine, who are you going to bribe to come and vote for you? So they don't care about it. So I think once we understand this, we'll be able to tackle our solution from where our problems, from the right source of the problem. Okay. And our problem is that we give. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is what I just wanted to chip in, that we should not look at this as if our leaders are bereft of ideas. They have it, they know what to do, but they won't just do it. And I think one other thing we need to stop doing is making excuses for them. Because when people come and say the government cannot do it alone, no. We should not make excuses for them. So when they come with these excuses, we should be able to counter them with facts. So when we are talking about industrialization, allow the market to be free, it is still the government that will put those structures in place. Electricity is not me and you that will do electricity, that will give us the free markets that we are looking for, open up the market for investors. It's still the government.
Can you mute?
Yeah.
Okay. So just a quick, I just saw online that the guy that got the contract to supply liquid perfume, that was a 4-month-old company. 4 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, got a contract to supply 7 million naira worth of liquid perfume, whatever that means. What do you think will happen to the government of Lagos State, or if this was any government? Does anybody on this space think that anything will happen to the government of Lagos State? Anybody? Does anyone think somebody... Go ahead, what do you think?
Yeah, actually, a few days ago, Amechi said something that Nigerians do not react. They know it. They don't, like I said, they are not bothered. They are not even worried. All these things that is flying on the timeline, they are not worried. They are not bothered. Because they know what we do is come online, talk, and we go back to our houses. So I think the best thing is for us to react as Nigerians. But concerning this one, nothing is going to happen. They will pass that budget. They will buy it, import it. And you see, that I was talking about where I disagree with some of your angles before. When on the issue of subsidy, farmers have come here tonight and tell us that the government is not subsidizing them for anything. And we make an example of even America that is a full, let's say, capitalist. They still subsidize all those things. And the only thing that is being subsidized for the Nigerian people is this petroleum, this petrol, this subsidy that they are removed. And that is why some of us were so against it, that don't remove petrol subsidy. Yes, you say there's corruption. Let's fight the corruption instead, because that's the only thing that is remaining. That is the only thing, the only single thing that is remaining for the masses. It's cut across everybody. But when they come with this argument of it is only the rich that is enjoying from subsidy, no, it's not just the rich. The farmers that are producing, the vehicles that are moving our food, everything relies on this. And that is the only thing that is remaining.
Okay.
So if they were going to...
I get your point. Let me try to explain this subsidy removal thing. And you see, the government has done a very, very good job to make you believe that you getting quote-unquote cheap fuel, it's a subsidy to you. Really, what is happening is that you are paying a tax on inefficiency. If the government of Nigeria had run a system whereby the refineries were working, whether it's government-owned or privately owned, the cost of your fuel would not be what it is today. So they tell you that we're going to subsidize their inefficiency so that you would agree, yes, subsidize your inefficiency to allow me buy it cheaper. Nobody asks the question to say, but why is it even expensive? The reason why I want the subsidy to go away is because you can't afford it. It had to do with corruption. I know there's corruption everywhere. Nigeria cannot afford to pay petroleum subsidies because crude oil is priced in United States dollars. anything imported, Nigerians cannot afford it. You must subsidize it. That's the reality. That's why we don't subsidize rent. Because rent, in a way, it's locally made, or even local education, but we subsidize PMS because it's priced in dollars. That's why I want it gone, not because of corruption. You simply can't afford it. You are spending more on PMS subsidy than education, health, and all social services combined. Where I agree with you is to say, how are we sure that if we remove fuel subsidy, the government will spend that money on health and education? That's where I agree with you and other Nigerians. You see, I'm of the view that if you take it away, let's now maybe pray that there are good sense to allow them to invest it in health and education. But I've been proven wrong that these guys right now are not going to spend any savings on health and education, because the facts show they are more interested in buying yachts than education or inhalers. That's what the facts show. But should we then retain subsidies because we are annoyed that the government will not spend it well? That's a question for you. I think it should go away. Let me come back to Abacha. Abacha removed subsidy. He created PTF. Do you know what PTF is? Petroleum Trust Fund. Since I was born, that was the largest expense I had seen with my own eyes on capital infrastructure in Nigeria. Before you had Gowon that did the Nigerian industrial plans a while back, the PTF was the largest investment in infrastructure in Nigeria. We don't have to like the man. The man was a killer. The man was a thief. But he built infrastructure. People will say, okay, but other guys built infrastructure. Okay, you build first now. Then you can then say, don't compare me to Abacha. If you don't build infrastructure, then we'll bring up Abacha. But if you build infrastructure, then Abacha has no hold on Nigerians anymore. Why is it that we're even debating that man's regime? A thief. Why are we debating that man's regime? It's because the guys of today are building nothing. That's why we're bringing his name up. The man did PTF with less than $10 per barrel. Built schools, built roads, built ports. Till today, there are some roads that are still PTF roads till today. So why can't the guys today do exactly what he has done? When we took off the subsidy, President Tinubu got almost $1 trillion in extra cash. He shared out 500 billion. He has retained 500 billion under this infrastructure fund. Where is the money? Where will it be used? What are we waiting for? And why are we waiting? Why have not earmarked 10 road projects in the nation and said, he called Julius Berger and said, go and do it? Why? We celebrate Julius Berger logo because we are so depraved. This is me talking. Abia State, where I'm from 1999 till 2023, had no governance. So pardon me when I see someone building small gutter road. Pardon me. But most of you guys have been having maybe one road here. So you guys are a bit okay. But when we see nothing, and it's the same thing like if an American comes to Nigeria and sees us celebrating Second Niger Bridge or what Lagos is doing, Lagos Rail Line, he will laugh. This is what this guy is doing. This is what a local government guy in America does because he's used to it over there. The same thing here. This country is in deep cuckoo. Deep one. But we're here, we're just celebrating minor. I don't use the wrong words on social media. We're not doing anything. You just heard Lagos State. You didn't just hear Lagos State budget. Someone spent 7 million naira to make his office smell nice. 2 billion for rechargeable whatever. And in all fairness, Lagos State, this happens in all states of the federation, all states. Before Lagos State, the governor came out and said he wants to spend 5 billion to renovate his office. I thought it was a typo. I looked the story up, it was there. 5 billion to renovate his office. And the other day we had the Commissioner of Finance in Zamfara State say that they were importing massage chairs for 50 million naira. That they took the pension They took their own portion, then went in and took the portion of the workers of Zamfara, took their own pension and chopped it. This is the commissioner of budget for Zamfara State. It happens everywhere, my brother. So the point I'm agreeing with you is that, Nigerians, we like our captors. We like this. It's no longer Stockholm syndrome. It's Nigerian syndrome. We seem to be satisfied with very, very little because we've really seen little. So if you want to exorcise the ghost of Abacha, do what he did and do better. If you fought against Abacha under Nadeko to simply come to office and buy yachts, then how are you any better? How are you any better? Festus, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Kalu, and good evening, everyone. So many things discussed today, but I won't be able to. I just want to talk about one or two things that were mentioned, most especially about the cassava thing. But first, just like has been mentioned, infrastructure is very key to everything. For example, I think, was it last week that, or this week, it was last week, today's another week, that we saw one road that linked Benue and Enugu together. Yeah. And we saw that road. So how bad that road is. So if roads like that are fixed, first, even though it might not have an overall, let's say 100% effect on what we want, but at least it's going to reduce the cost of food to a level, at least for the current situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria. It's going to create a positive impact to a level. So if things like that are fixed to a, we are going to have food reduced to a level. I believe infrastructure is very key. Now, but moving on, the person I was talking about, starch, I believe that overall, we might not have to say we put everybody in agriculture, for example. We have some businesses already that are doing this. So if they are well empowered, if those infrastructure are put in place, some of these companies are well empowered, just like we have in the Netherlands, just about 2% of the whole population is into agriculture. And they are more like, if not the first or second most exporting countries in the whole world. In the whole world. Second exporting country in the whole world. So if we're able to empower some of these companies, like we know we have Sultry that is even doing ethanol, with the little infrastructure that we talk about, we're going to go a long way. And I also believe that, like I was asking Mr. Kalu about the Ajaokuta steel, I believe first, if we're able to meet our local demand, starch is needed locally, but do we meet our local demand? No. Before we can even talk about exporting or competing with China, competing with other countries, we need to first meet our local demand for some of these products. Gari itself, we need to meet local demand. Ethanol, all this, we need them locally. So if we meet our local demand, then we know that we are well satisfied. It is saturated. Then we can then talk about exporting some of these commodities to other countries and then start competing with other companies or other countries. For cassava example, we have a lot of things in Nigeria. For example, IITA has produced so many cassava varieties that can work for so many purposes, for Gary, for talk of Gary, vitamin A. You have the best variety you can do for vitamin A, for ethanol, even for starch, as the case may be. So we have some of these technologies even in Nigeria. I was in UI one day when I was doing my MBA, and I saw some of these machines that the engineering department, agric engineering department, produced. We know that some of these things are really, when they are produced, they rot on shelf. But some of these technologies are also there, local ones that we can also use, to facilitate the growth of our agricultural sector in Nigeria. And lastly, that I will say that while we focus on that food, we are at the same pace, focus on manufacturing. So my last point will be that food and manufacturing should go hand in hand. And what do I mean? Like it has been said, because some of these technologies, some of these machines will have to be produced, the parts will have to be produced locally. So if this technology will be used, like our universities, produce them and also encourage the manufacturing industry so that those people that are producing them can produce them in mass. When we need them, they can be easily available in the market. Now we are talking about Dangote Refinery, say it's not, even if they do it, It will still not work. Why? Because the parts that they are going to be using are not readily available, or not produced in Nigeria. We're still going to be importing them from China. So if the manufacturing sector is also empowered with food, I believe that we're going to go a long way. That's just the little thing I just want to say.
Yeah, but let me also ask you the same question I asked the gentleman, right? How do we don't have power supply, so we can't do machinery without power supply. This comes back to the central question. This is what I'm trying to get the guy to really address. You can't scale without equipment, without mechanization, and you cannot have mechanization without power supply. So we're back to that infrastructure argument, right? We can't scale. There is no competitor with Nigeria that doesn't have power supply. Look at bricks, look at mints. They all have steady power supply. So we can't compete with those guys. That's just where I think, I don't know if we're missing it or we're not really focusing on. We have to fix that power supply. Without that power supply, nothing can happen.
So, Mr. Kalu, sorry. From where I started from the infrastructure itself. Because I also believe that's where we need to start from. So if we fix some of these things, I believe that we're going then from there. Without infrastructure, of course, we cannot go anywhere. Whether the banking industry or whatever industry, if there's no power, why do we think some of these companies are leaving Nigeria to go to Ghana and go to other countries? It's because power is not available. So I also believe that first we need to start from infrastructure. Then from there, we can then start picking some of these other sector or other areas.
Now a friend of mine has a hotel, big hotel. I won't name the city, very, very big hotel. So it was telling me the other day that his hotel is fully booked. He had no problem with sales. All the sales he makes goes to buy diesel. Not even salaries or diesel. Because he has to run the hotel 24/7. So it goes to buy diesel. So he wants to walk away. But when you have a business like that, how can you survive with that sort of business where everything is on? So, big problem. Lulu, Mr. Lulu Nakas. Lulu, go ahead, please. Hope I got that right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Carlos. We've been an ardent follower of your space and your tweet. So thank you. I appreciate your, economic outlook and principles towards economics. Also, I want to say thank you to M Cube, if you are still on the call. You just spoke, my mind, because I'm actually a manufacturer myself, a small scale manufacturer. And most of the things M Cube mentioned were actually very correct. As we speak right now, we've been approaching our bank, to give us a quick loan, to facilitate the importation of some machines, just to replace our machines, and they've just been saying this, giving us outrageous interest rates and so on. And it's not helpful. How can we compete with other competitors from Ghana? Look at the value chain where we are operating. Most of them are filled with Ghanaian import. So and these things come in very cheap. So how do we compete? So it's we're in a very deep mess, if I may permit my language. And as I speak to you now, I have a capping, labeling, a filling, capping, labeling inline machine lying in the pot. I can't bring it in. They are telling me to bring 15% to take it out. So it's we're in a really dire situation here, and all this boils down to the fact that the government is getting free money. They no longer value our labor. Because they are getting money freely, printing money and easy borrowing, and they are borrowing and putting our children in debt, So they no longer see the value from the labor of its citizens because of this so-called money printing. My friend in South Africa, he left not, I think that was how many years ago, about 5 years ago. He bought land in South Africa. On buying land, about 2 hectares of land, the banks were chasing him up and down, to give him loans so that he can develop his land. But in Nigeria, buy 5 hectares, you go to the bank to go and ask for money, they will be tossing you left, right, and center. So we really need to do something about this, because Nigeria is going downhill. If something is not done, especially in the manufacturing, and processing sectors. Thank you very much.
Lulu, and just hang on there, Lulu. And again, the point again, what you're making is this. There is high inflation in Nigeria. So inflation is high in Nigeria. So the central banks and banks, to fight inflation, raise interest rates, which means they want to stop you from borrowing. Because they stop you from borrowing, it reduces you having cash. Then it reduces how much you can spend, and they want to use you to fight inflation. So to me, it's wrong, because you are not the one causing inflation. Inflation is being caused by supply, lack of supply. Harun has told us now that he cannot really farm at optimal levels. So perhaps we should think of saying ignore inflation for now and focus on people like you and give you access to low cost of funds. There will be inflation, but we have to make people like you produce. If you can't clear goods at the port, why is it at the port? If the government gets the revenue but you cannot employ people to then make stuff in your factory, then what's the point of revenues? Why was Customs say they've gotten 1 trillion revenues on the back of your company, but you can't clear your container that will create jobs in Nigeria? It doesn't make any sense. And this is the part about the government's own plans and priorities. What are they looking at? Local import substitution or export? You're the second person to talk about this lack of clearing from the ports. You're the second person. And the ports fall under the coordinating minister of the economy, Mr. Wale Edu. So yes, whilst he will look at the monetary side, will look at the raising funds from Saudi, let's also go back locally and make sure that our internal operations are working. If the ports are not working, then what are we doing? That's just, I want to make that point again and clear. We have to focus on getting the local economy humming back again, because that's where the real growth will come from. Really, not Saudi borrowing, not Indian borrowing, but creating wealth at the local level from jobs and taxing those jobs. That's really it. Lulu, thanks for all you guys do. I mean, all you entrepreneurs and farmers, you guys deserve your own public holiday, where the government just sent you guys recharge card to just relax. That's what you guys deserve, because you guys are doing the job of the government. But it is what it is. Yeah. Let's take under 20.
Yeah, it's under 20. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Lulu, thank you so much, sir.
And thank you. It's been an interesting listening for me. It's a great topic we're talking about. To start with, this is my very first time I'll be talking on any space.
Welcome.
And, I really appreciate that I'm given the mic to at least share my 2 cents. Now, permit me to start with this proverb which says charity begins at home. Let us forget about China. Let us forget about Ghana for now. There is hunger in Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Within the kids.
Go ahead.
So there is hunger in Nigeria, and everybody that is doing one thing or the other, whether a trader by the corner of the street or a farmer, is doing essentially the work of a government. So everybody in Nigeria probably has maybe at least one generator to generate their own power themselves. The woman by the corner of the street selling pure water would also buy a small generator to power the fridge to add value to the water and sell it as cold water. October last year, I was opportuned to attend the AFDB, that's African Development Bank program, the launch of the special agro-processing zone in Nigeria. And of course, we all know that the president or the current president of AFDB is a Nigerian, and they earmarked $520 million towards creating special agro-processing zones across Nigeria. Nigeria, I would say, is the best country in the whole world. I'm currently not in Nigeria, but God has given us everything but one thing in that country. And that one thing that we lack is leadership. And permit me to say that what we are suffering in that country, and everything is still dive back to economics, inflation, and everything, is the sincerity of our leaders. That somebody has paid 7 million naira to a company registered in February last year. Was it February last year or February this year?
February this year.
To supply liquid perfume. This is not the first time it's going to be happening. In this same Nigeria, somebody took money to go and clear grass. In this same Nigeria, people got contracts to build power stations that never existed. But our leaders understand that we are docile in nature. And this is not to push anyone into... Of course, we all know that once you go to the street, there is a martial rule to attack anybody that goes to the street. I've heard Aruna, and I felt so sorry that Aruna would go through all of what he went through. But that is the story of everybody. I told myself before I leave Nigeria, I want to have something in Nigeria doing that would add value. I bought land. I bought 28 heads of cattle. I bought them. I went to a village in Ogun State, very close to Ayetoro, to buy those cattle. And I bought a land, and I got 2 Fulani guys to tend them, lead them into grass pastures and all of that. And Sunday Bowl, whatever, happened. And these people left to buy cows or cattle because they were also running for their lives. And I said, okay, if that is how it is, please help me sell the land. I'm not doing it anymore. When you even go to the bank as a farmer or as an entrepreneur to get a loan, they would treat you like you're taking the money to throw a party. But this same bank, this same CBN, we can see their label of money distributed on election days, or even giving across within themselves. So, as Dr. Kalu, I don't know if you're a doctor, but permit me, everything that has been said so far is correct. Our leaders are not bereft of ideas. It is the sincerity to implement those ideas.
True.
And I will remind us that from the time of Obasanjo even till date, there has not been an handshake between one government to another. $520 million just October last year. I was at the AFDB headquarters in Abuja for the 3 days event. Government parastatals or Shibado was there. Nothing is being said about that again. We all knew the amount of money that the Buhari government spent on rice farming. We have a new government in Nigeria now that has opened borders for rice to be imported. Sometimes, as much as I want to agree that our problem is spiritual, but we should, I don't know. And please, nobody should ask me what should be the solution because I don't know. Protesting in Nigeria is you signing your own death warrant.
I think, you've said what everyone wants to say. I think there's the greatest disappointment I have is that many people no longer look at politics as a way to achieve change. But that's not something I want to talk about. But there are other non-political ways you can also achieve change in the country. And one way is spaces like this, where we are getting the information out. Look at what Mr. Funsho Doherty also did, where he wrote a letter, very polite letter, and he wrote his own analysis. He's put it out there. He hasn't demonstrated. He hasn't gone to the streets. He's put it there, You can't abuse his mother. You can only address the facts of what he has put there, or you can ignore it. But he has put it out there, it's on record. If you don't address it, it's on you. I saw the governor in Harvard years ago, this same governor of Lagos in Harvard. When he goes back to Harvard, those guys will ask him those questions. He can dodge Nigeria, but these things follow you. These things follow you. There's a president that said Nigeria's problem was how to spend money. I'm sure he regrets that statement today. I'm very sure he regrets it today. So many people think that the world will end in 2023. They forget there's a tomorrow. Everything you see now will pass. Everything you see now will pass. There was a president. His daughter was a lawyer. He moved law school to Abuja for his daughter. Simple. He moved it there. There was a guy that was building statues of people in his state. That was his own. He just built a statue. They're all gone now. So whatever you think you are going to go. Whatever you think you are. And unfortunately for you, your legacy will not go away. And there'll be a time when there'll be real questions asked. I believe it's in my heart that there'll be a time when there'll be real questions asked and people are going to have to show receipts what they did. It includes those guys on Twitter that go around defending all this nonsense. Everybody will be forced to show receipts and then we'll take it from there. But it's a sad situation. I mean, it looks like we're complaining, but I just want to maybe educate, but it's sad that we have to keep on. Every week is a new revelation, right? Like we're going back, we're not going forward. It's tough to take. Tough to take.
Okay. Can I just quickly wrap up? And
sure.
Thanks for your contribution.
Go for it, yeah.
In socialist, well, is it? I'm open to corrections here. In countries like China, as a public office holder, you dare not do some things because you are going to face capital punishment. Is it that Nigeria is trying to compare itself with countries that have developed? Because when you start talking about Nigeria, they will ask you, how old is America? How old is China? How old is this and is that?
It's an excuse.
What do you say?
It's an excuse.
It's an excuse, but again, that does not mean that we cannot copy the good things and use them as a template to develop ourselves. Christmas is just a few weeks from now. And I don't know, there is hunger in Nigeria, and the government need to help people. Even if they are not creating the infrastructure, help the people be safe. I saw trailer loads of perishable items that all the food in those trailers got perished because of lack of road. Should we be wasting food when there is hunger in the land? You will see a tanker of petrol fall by the road and people will throw caution away, not thinking that a little spark could make a fire and all of them will burn. They will start packing fuel on the road.
So let me just say something, right? I give this example a lot of spaces, right? In the 1960, 1970, Nigerians and Nigeria was richer than Chinese and China. So you can Google it. Just Google GDP per capita, Nigeria and China, put 1970, put 1960. Nigeria and Nigerians were richer than China and the Chinese. Fact, Google it. So what did China do from 1970 that today they have 3 trillion in reserves? This is reserves, 3 trillion, and they're building speed trains and they are lending Nigeria money. You know, they did a lot of things which we can hold a special space on. They focused on rural areas, they focused on education, they focused on getting the politics and the economy to rhyme so that they had just one 10-year plan that everyone had to key into. But most importantly, the leadership that they had in China were high quality leadership. If you look at the CV of the Chinese Politburo, look at the CV of those guys, high quality. So I have friends. I've got about 2 friends that became ministers that were really, really high up. Very, very good friends. One guy went in there and left there. his reputation intact. The other guy, I can't still say he did the same thing. The difference in those two guys is just the upbringing. Nigeria elects folks that we cannot hire to watch our child. We hire them as governors or commissioners, and we give them money to spend, and then we are surprised that they spend the money the way they spend the money. We don't go through. There's no quality in our leadership. China did a lot of things because the people that ran China were manifestly qualified to run that economy, and they turned that economy around. Not so in Nigeria. In the 1960s, Nigerian economy was the fastest growing in the whole world. Fastest growing. So what happened from the 1960s to the 1970s? The army took over, and you had kids, in quotes, kids running a country with crude oil revenues that had no clue. And from then till today, look at when Obasanjo ran the economy. The economy of Nigeria from democracy has grown the fastest and the highest under Obasanjo. GDP per capita, paid down the debt, did all that. Look at Obasanjo's cabinet. Go look at it. Look at the quality in Obasanjo's cabinet. Fast forward to Goodluck Ebele's cabinet also. That was the time in Goodluck's cabinet, people were coming back to Nigeria to take up jobs in Nigeria. Look at the quality of his cabinet. One person in his cabinet is now the trade reps heading the whole trade policy in the entire world. The other guy is in the ADB, heading the whole of the agricultural finance for the entire world as well. Look at the lady that ran communications for him. Quality of the cabinet. When we get to Buhari, I feel sorry for Buhari because I attack him. But I also feel sorry for him. The guy didn't know economics. And the people he's surrounding himself with, they also know economics. So they were shutting down borders to grow rice. That's what they told him. And this is where we are. Now, this guy that has come in now, Tinubu, has been a guy that has been around. He's very worldly. He knows what's up. As in, he knows he's been to the capitals of the world. He's been to the Democratic Party convention. He knows what to do. But I think what's holding him back is he has too many political things to settle. He has to settle this person, settle that person. Who is the Minister of Agriculture? Who is the Minister of Budget and Planning? These are the two critical areas. Who did he give it to? Who? Do you expect anything from that? So, leadership has got to be, purposeful, impactful. You have to say, I want to do this. One tree can make a forest, though. Don't let anyone deceive you. One tree can make a forest in leadership. Look at what Akuli did with NAFTA. One tree. Even the refinery, I hate to use it, I know the guy's not my best guy, but look at the refinery in Abuja, in FCT. One tree. Mm-hmm. And there are many people. Look at even the statistics man. What that guy did in Nigerian statistics.
No Ribadu with EFCC, but these people are still alive. What is there? What are they doing right now? What is legacy to them?
You cannot call Nuhu Ribadu if he's still alive and the same government and doing totally opposite. It's like bringing Okonjo-Iweala came to Nigeria twice and performed wonders twice. If this woman was around, Nabdak lady was around today, do you think she would do this nonsense they are doing? So you have to, leadership, people have gone into office, did not steal, and left with their heads held high and left a legacy. Most folks come to office today to steal and to get what they can. That's why you're hearing perfumes all over the place and luxury cars all over the place. That's the truth. And unless you change the quality of people that run for office, do you think this Funsho Doherty man, if he was governor, would I know the guy personally? I know him personally. Do you think he would approve perfumes for 7 million? If you bring it to him, the Funsho will sack you. But somehow, and that's the small one.
7 million is the lowest of
it's baby feet. It's just because it's perfume. I'm seeing 2 billion for rechargeable lamp. So let's not deceive ourselves. It's the quality. If you keep on hiring monkeys, then don't be surprised your peanuts get missing. Nigerians have to hold themselves to account. It's your fault. I stopped blaming politicians. It's your fault. Your fault. Thanks, Boo Boo. Let's get Yomi. Yomi.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I'll let the rest to contribute, and excellent. I really appreciate the time given to me to share my.
You're welcome. We've got about 15 minutes to go or whatever. We'll be here for 2 hours, 25 minutes, guys. 2 hours, 25 minutes. So let's wrap it up. Let you guys go enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Yomi, hey, what's up, man? Yomi, what's happening?
Yeah, Carlo, thanks, and good evening, everyone. So I think my major contribution, so I wanted to speak first and foremost to what this guy spoke about, David, when he was talking about the stash and stuff like that. And just like you just said, Carlo, I think the major problem or the major issue we have as Nigerians, or fault, let me use that word fault, as Nigerian citizens, is the fact that we open our eyes to make sure that these guys are being elected. I think that's our major fault. But talking about other things, about infrastructure, implementations and all the stuff, because most times I've heard people put a lot of blames on citizens, that what are the citizens doing, this and that. And sometimes when I go into some analysis with some of these guys, like, because you're talking out of ignorance. Now, it was making mention of stash. Okay, thank God you countered it with the infrastructure. But I want to make a very, very simple scenario, okay? Now, Nigeria, we claim we are the largest producer of cassava. But one very simple question, what is our yield capacity? In some countries, what would take us 10 hectares to produce? Take some countries 1 hectare to produce that. So imagine a farmer that has 10 hectares of land, okay? He's going to take like 10 times the labor or 10 times the time it would take for the tractor or mechanized farming to actually do whatever it's going to take on 1 hectare. And then the person doing 1 hectare even have a higher yield than you doing 10 hectares after spending a whole lot of money, spending a whole lot of time, a whole lot of infrastructure and resources and stuff like that. And these things have to come with policies and things like GMOs and stuff like that. And these things cannot, let's be frank with ourselves, cannot really be done by citizens. Because I as a farmer, I cannot really come up with research institutes that would be researching on how I can improve on my cassava, on how I can improve on my yam and stuff like that. It has to be the collective effort of the government in partnership with the citizens. So when we don't have government that is ready to do anything for the citizens, then we begin to have a whole lot of issues. And then it saddens my heart when I now hear some people come in and be putting some blames on citizens, coming to be saying some things about the citizens and stuff like that. I want to give a scenario. Now, we produce a whole lot of waste in Nigeria. I'm going to make mention of one, which is this banana. Now, the only thing here in Nigeria that is useful in a banana tree is the fruit on it. The banana stems contribute a whole lot of wastage. But there are countries that these banana fibers are being extracted from them, and they are being used to produce bags and like a lot of things. There was a time I wanted to go into that in Nigeria, and I needed to import the equipment, like the machine. At least you need to import like a sample, then you can actually find people locally that will fabricate it and all the stuff. But the import duties and all the stuff, okay, let me go another route. I went to FIRO, Federal Institute of Research, okay, and proposed this to them, even give them working drawings and all the stuff, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, nothing came out of it. Now, these are some of the challenges we face because, like, gone are the days where poultry farming used to be very profitable in Nigeria. Today now, even the cost of buying the feeds alone is going to kill you. So when people are coming against your proposal of importing to actually crash down inflation, to be frank, it's because we don't really know what we are talking about. It's because we don't really know what we are doing. Because if I can't even compete with someone planting the same maize with 1 hectare, okay, another example, look at our yam. Why can't we export our yam in Nigeria? Because we grow our yam from yam tubers, not yam seedlings. A lot of people don't even know there's something called yam seedlings, that you can actually plant yam via a seed instead of planting the yam. Because when you plant the yam from like yam tubes by cutting the head and all this stuff, you're transferring genetic diseases that is coming from the generation of those yams. And then they don't want a situation whereby they buy yam from you and under 1 week the yam is getting bad and stuff. So they have deployed yam seedlings. which we don't have here in Nigeria. So therefore, even if as a farmer, I invest $50 billion in yam production in Nigeria, I cannot export it. Why? Because it is not going to be accepted worldwide. And these are part of the challenge. So we need our government to really sit up before Nigeria can actually work, before farming can work and all this stuff. I'm going to just close with this last comment. There was a time, one of the times when I actually gave up on Nigeria was when, as a construction, because I actually studied civil engineering, so I'm a structural engineer. So we went for inspection at Lafarge. And could you believe that the sand that they used to test their cement, like to test if the strength of the cement, if the cement is production ready and fit for the market and all this stuff, the sand is being imported. Like sand, the same sharp sand, okay, is being imported. Why? Okay, we have limestone in Nigeria, okay? How many percent of the limestones used in our cement here in Nigeria are actually from Nigeria? Because what they'll tell you is because our governments are not supporting these local limestone miners and all the stuff. So there are regulations and all the stuff that will tell you that they are substandard. So as a farmer, okay, you produce a whole lot of stuff and you want to export it and you're being told they are substandard. Why? Because your government just neglected you. Nobody's coming to stand for you to say, oh, okay, you know what? And as a farmer in Nigeria, anything you're producing, we are going to stamp it and tell them that, yes, it is of what? No, they just neglected farmers. So you are at the mercy of whoever is buying from you, of whoever the off-taker is, because there is nothing to support you as a farmer. I think I'm going to rest my case for now on this.
Yeah, I just think that, remember that everywhere in the world, the government only reacts to people. American politicians are not better than Nigerian politicians, but the American electorate seem to be able to hold them to account. If I'm the governor and you guys don't care where I live, I'll live in Abu Dhabi. That's basically it. And I'll dial in on Zoom every day and talk to you guys. So the governance reacts to how the people hold them to account. If you don't hold your government to account, they won't take you seriously. And that's why sometimes we hold the people, we say we hold the people to account. The people have got to hold that. Okay, you can't hold governor, hold your councillor, hold your local government chairman. You can't say you are powerless. You just can't say you are powerless. And you don't have to go to the streets to have an impact. You don't. There's a country, was it in America here? In America, there's in Congo, there's an organization here in Congo. What they do, any minister that's coming from Congo to America, they would have your name. They have where you're going to stay in a hotel. They will call that hotel and block the phone lines. They will just keep on calling. They will go to the hotel. They will follow you around. If you go to a restaurant, they will go to the restaurant with you. They will campaign. You will not have, if you go to shop. So it went round. The guys from the country don't go anywhere. They have to hide. But here, if you know, if you go online, you will see videos of people spraying this same dollar that they've taken from Nigeria, spraying it abroad. So it's a thing of pride to steal government money and spend it in Nigeria. It's a thing of pride. People do it openly. All these things you are saying, there's a room, some people are laughing with champagne. They are laughing at your contract. They are laughing at you. Because we don't hold them to account. Again, you don't have to go and kill anybody or to hold anybody's neck. You don't have to throw or harm anybody. But just they knowing that if I do this, this is going to cause a problem that people are going to ask me to account. The people will sort of start to take dressing. I see Sri Lankan folks here. Sri Lankan folks, they'll go to your house and say, this house was bought with money from Sri Lanka. They'll put the sign there and they'll stay there. They will stay in the front of that house. They will tell their neighbors, this guy is a minister in my country. He bought his house. It's online. Go online, you see it. But we don't do all that stuff. So if you don't hold people to account, don't blame them. Politicians only react to the electorate. Chicago is more corrupt than maybe some places in Nigeria. Chicago, Al Capone. This is what they were doing there, buying the government and all that. But how do they clean it up? You know. So the same thing here. We have to hold ourselves to account. Hey Ken, what's up, man? Hey guys, we've got about 20 minutes that we'll call today. It's been a long one, Ken.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Carlo. great space again, great discussions today to everyone, and much has been said, and much of what I would like to say also have been said. But what I would like to say, in line with the topic, because we've digressed a lot, we've said actually a lot, though relevant things, I must say. But regarding food inflation, I mean, every day we keep every month rather, the figures come out. You see the figures going up, despite the rational thing that is expected for a central bank to do, which is trying to control inflation using monetary policy. But it's not working in Nigeria. It is not working, and at this point, this is the point where the fiscal side should come to the table and start brainstorming. Though the solutions are there, someone has said that already. We know what we need to do, and what I would expect from a government like this, with regards to the immediate effect of removal of subsidy, which a lot of us clamored for to happen, but the after effects, which is going to be obvious, we know what was going to happen immediately. The basic thing to guarantee survival of Nigerians as of today is to ensure that food prices are down. That is critical. And what I expect from this government is for the next 1 year, the majority of your budget, if not majority, but at least a substantial amount, should be geared towards opening up all those clusters of farms you have and connecting them, infrastructurally to the centers, and creating locations where you can call hubs where this produce can go, so that you don't have food spoilage. Not wastage now. So you don't have food spoilage, and let there be excess food. Because one thing about Nigerians, I won't say human, but Nigerian, if a Nigerian has food in their bellies, they can deal with the other issues or other needs on that high the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You see that food is critical. But right now, many Nigerians cannot afford food. That is where we are today. I mean, with the requests, with the complaints, with everything, even people you think are well-to-do today, they are going through a lot right now. And paying deaf ears, being so insensitive, just like we've seen, the humongous and ridiculous figures from this Lagos state budget, it's unbelievable. 8 billion naira to do upgrade of website. Unbelievable. 2 billion naira for rechargeable fans, to buy rechargeable fans in this same Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate, but food inflation must be tackled. It must be tackled with every sense of responsibility. Right now, we should see all contractors. There should be like a state of emergency, mandating everyone with any equipment that can construct road to start dualizing or constructing dual carriageways for every clusters of farm into main cities, so that productivity can be enhanced in this country. And then coupled with that, yes, we know food inflation is primarily as a result of the insecurity we are having. And that insecurity, I have continued to clamor, and I will continue to say it. I know those people, they are listening. The people in government, they are here. They are listening to us. They know. We must take away politics out of this problem of insecurity in Nigeria. We must take it out. A lot of people are getting rich from it, we know. Even people in the military, they are getting rich from this insecurity. They don't want it to go. It has now become an industry. Even the vice president said so, that insecurity is now a business in Nigeria. He said so, the vice president. So let's not continue to pretend like we are not sitting on a time bomb. We are indeed sitting on a time bomb. And I just pray Nigeria does not become Sri Lanka. That's my prayer. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I don't know, man. The topic is it's interesting because all this money that we're spending, if we simply just channel it from cars to save food, we don't have any problems. So I'm seeing Benue State importing 2 billion cars. Every governor is buying cars. So just imagine if we took the money for cars and imported food. You know what will happen? Inflation will come down. If you just take all the money, imagine all the money that Lagos State has put on this budget. If they took 10% of that money and they imported rice, inflation in Lagos will come down. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's
unfortunate.
Tough. Yeah, it is unfortunate. First Light, let's get First Light. Ken, thank you. I appreciate you, sir. First Light, go ahead, sir. Hey, I'm fine. Fine, yeah. First Light is going to be after you. We're going to take Boo Boo, then we'll close it, run it out for the day. So First Light and then Boo Boo, then we'll call it a day. All right, go ahead, First Light.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Inflation 30%. You know, I have said this time without number. I think the problem is not even the presidency alone. If we want inflation to go down, the state must be productive. And I think every state is guilty of this. I've seen a document where Abia State Governor is spending about 2 billion on security votes. Yes, he's doing some jobs. Can every state governor in Nigeria put those money they spend on security votes and use it to get food across the state? Is that possible for every governor in Nigeria? They can just decide to take 2 billion as a whole of that state, get some specific food for their state citizens. This is not a rocket science. It's not something you need to go and dig, bring whatever you want to bring, right? And the reason is that they spend this much money on these other things that are not really relevant. They overload contract, right? At the end of the day, the people suffer for it. The few things they need to do. And I'm telling you, is there any state in Nigeria that is doing mechanizing farming? I don't think I've not seen any state in Nigeria. Maybe Gombe, Kebbi, in terms of rice. Even that rice is done by individuals. It's an individual thing. Secondly, state must approach this farming, mechanized farming. When I say mechanized, I mean put crops on. I mean, when you drive from here to Kano, from Kano to Maiduguri, when you're going on this place, you see flat land that if you decide to cultivate these things in 1 year, this food inflation we're talking about is going to go down. A friend of mine who has a rice plant, do you know where he buys his paddy from? He gets his paddy from Niger Republic. His paddy for his rice from Niger Republic. He has a shop here. He has a factory here in Abuja. So, if these things can be done across states, meaning whether it is rice, whether it is yam, whether it is beans, whether it's cassava, whether it is mango, whether it is orange, let every state take their own strength and spend hugely on it. If it is oil, palm oil from Edo, Delta, and the rest of them, let them put enough money. If it is just 2 billion they put in this thing, I am very sure after 12 months, the yield will be able to bring down this. These are the kind of discussion I want to have. I'm tired of putting blame on the presidency, but minus the governors and minus the local government chairmen that were just there. They were not productive. We can say the governor have taken their power, which make me say that the governors are the mini emperor. They are not just small, they are mini emperors. And that's why they will kill to get into that office. A governor will tell you, I am taking a pay cut from salary, but when you check his allowance still outweigh that money, that cut he said he's taking. Because the salary is useless. How much is a governor's salary? A governor's salary is not up to 3 million naira. He will tell you, I don't want your salary. But you will still collect all those 100% allowances on XYZ. Let him also tell us that he's not going to take any allowance. He cut down all the allowance. Then we're talking about a governor cutting down about almost 100 or 200 million on those expenses every month. But when you tell me you're cutting your salary, you're just kidding. It's just a child's play. It's like you taking 1% of 100%. and say you don't want it. So those are the things I think we need to start holding those states responsible. And the second thing, Mr. Kalu, one thing that baffles me that I see Nigerians doing now, which you won't see in other countries, is the fact that I see, because Nigerians who voted for who they want to vote for, we are now making it a gesture. We are making more of them, that they are now crying that things are expensive. And I asked one of them, the last time I checked, are you also immune from this thing you are abusing this person for? Or do you also think if your candidate has won, will it be better than what it is now? Of course, the person couldn't answer me. He said, yes, you will have done better. I said, well, that's what you will say. But what is happening now, if you decide to say you'll be abusing people because they vote who they want, and then you use that to cascade them, I don't think that happened. In America, every America, we abuse the fact that the president is not doing well, which is fine. But you don't tell somebody because he voted for this party, he was the cause of your problem. I am sorry. I feel sorry for those people because they don't understand what choice is about. So moving forward, we must make the state productive. We must make the local government productive. At the end of the day, the presidency will be forced to sit well. Whoever you vote for, please criticize like Doherty had done. He wasn't just sitting down and ranting. He put things out. He told you the things, how it is, what we can do with them. That's a logical criticism. Thank you very much. I yield for now, Carl. Thank you very much for the platform.
I think people are saying that if you voted for someone, you can't now, should we say, walk away from the responsibility of your vote. Your vote has power. That's what people are saying. I don't know about the laughing. But
no, Kalu, they are making mock of people. Kalu, yes. In America, you live in America.
In America, hold. I have seen. They will tell you that in New York, you voted for wokeness, so you shouldn't complain about. Listen, a guy was killed in America, broad daylight, with the camera showing. This is the guy that preached for. What's it called? He wanted cops to go away. What they call them, defund the cops. He was accosted by 4 a.m. His throat was slashed. That's at night on camera, full view from his girlfriend. His girlfriend also wanted cops to go away. And they were. I didn't like it, but they were laughing at them that okay, you didn't want cops, now you've been dead. The point is, if your vote has got, they say votes have consequences. That's what they mean. If you vote for high taxes. You can't come and complain that taxes are high.
No, Kalu. So how do you hold somebody responsible? What you are saying to me now, because I voted for a government and things were not well, you are saying I should not complain. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that if you vote for high taxes, you cannot complain about high taxes. That's what I'm telling you.
No, Kalu. That's not it. That's not it. If something is not right, it means what you are saying is that even if I vote my father and he's doing something wrong, you're telling me not to complain.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Correct. I am saying that. You asked me a question. Right. Let me. I can mute you, but let me talk.
If I cannot tell you what you're doing is wrong, I can as well hire you. If I hire you to do something for me, I pay you to do something for me, and you don't do that thing right, you're telling me I should not complain.
Listen.
Because I hire you.
Listen. When you go for an election, you have a manifesto. One manifesto will say, I want to increase taxes. The other manifesto says, I want to reduce taxes. If you vote to increase taxes, you cannot come and tell me that you do not like high taxes. That's what I'm telling you. Whatever example you want to use, that's the point.
The man said he's going to do in his manifesto.
I'm not talking about this
subsidy. I'm going to take up. I'm going to remove all these things. He did everything he said, and he said there were processes. It's going to be painful. He said it, and all the candidates said it.
I'm not sure.
So all the candidates said it. Peter Obi said it.
You are making this a political thing, my brother. I'll meet you. You are making this. And I don't like. Calm down. You are making. Don't raise your voice or make it a political thing. You made a statement.
No. I'm not raising my voice. I just don't like the fact that I vote
You made a point that people vote. Your vote is power. Your vote is a choice. You have options. Then you select. A vote is a selection process. You read a manifesto, then you vote. If things are bad in Nigeria, you cannot extol yourself from saying because things are bad for everybody, you are immune from your vote. You voted, so you should defend your vote. You can explain and say, I voted for this, it hasn't happened, so I'm disappointed in that, and no one should laugh at you. But to say the people laughing at you shouldn't do it. Why shouldn't they laugh at you? They also have the right to laugh at you, just as you have the right not to also say, oh, my vote didn't work out. You can't tell people not to laugh at people. I mean, come on. If people vote, you voted, and you then come and say, oh, I don't like the policies. Didn't you vote? I'll give you a good example. Imo State, the governor gave them 250,000 naira before the elections. He gave some youth 250,000 naira for elections. After the elections, the money was converted to a loan. Their accounts have been debited. Now they are crying all over social media that they were not told the cash was a loan. So you are saying that the folks that did not vote because of 250,000 should not laugh at the folks that collected 250,000 naira to vote someone into power. We shouldn't laugh at them or call them out. Of course we should. You sold your votes.
There are two different things. You see, my problem is not... There are two different things you're mixing together. You're mixing them together. You can say, it's your my choice is my choice. Is that correct? My choice is my choice. Irrespective of the consequence that comes with it, it is my choice. Am I correct? Secondly, for somebody to come and make gesture of it, you see, when you make a gesture of something like you are immune from it, it's funny for me. That's the funniest part of it. And if you talk about the manifesto, like I said, across board, the three major candidates, they all said the same thing. They all said the same thing. And they didn't tell us how. In fact, one of them of recent, they were asking him, he said he's going to do exactly what this guy is doing. So for me, that's why it's funny for me. Let's assume that the other two say something different from what this person is doing. And we all know the degradation that we have in the system. It didn't just start 5-8 years ago.
Question for you.
Yes.
Will all the three candidates have bought a 5 billion naira yacht?
They would have. See, let me tell you something. You see, because
it's
this
a simple
person
question.
is there, now
I'm asking
we
you
can defend
I'm asking you a simple question.
And I'll tell you, I agree with you.
I'm asking you a simple question. We have to move
now.
on. No. It's a simple question, and we have to move on. Will all three candidates, major candidates, have bought a $5 billion yacht at the same time on the supplementary budget? It's a simple question.
No, they wouldn't have. They would have, because it wasn't purchased by them. It was done before they arrived.
Listen. This is a simple question. Whoever bought it, someone signed it. So let me ask the question again. Would all three major candidates have signed off on a budget that included a $5 billion yacht when Nigerians were complaining about lack of food? Will all three have signed off?
They wouldn't have signed off. And let me explain this. Like I said, you are in the financial sector.
We have to move on.
Let me clear this.
You've already answered the question, bro. There's nothing to explain. Let's move on. We've heard your answer. No, what are you explaining?
Let me say something. Now.
Let's move on. We're going to move on. We're going to move on, sir. I apologize, but we'll have to move on. Boo, you've got the floor, sir.
Let me clear this. Let me quickly clear
this. Boo, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. First off, I would like to appreciate you on this space, because this is one of the space that we hear the truth as it is, not somebody coming to bamboozle us. So we hear other people say something about defending the government and all that. I would like to appreciate this space for giving us that platform to hear our voices. First and foremost, I want to talk something about way government approaches, the way they do their spending and all that. I believe most of our politicians are hypocrites. Because I remembered this current Lagos State government budget that I heard discussing about, that we are discussing about, like, this our governor, at the start of this scarcity subsidy removal, he did some cushion effects, which some people were praising him for, like, okay, he reduced the cost of transportation and all that. But if we should check now, it has been cancelled, it has ended. Meanwhile, there was still inflation, food inflation. The transportation is still not easy on the citizens of Lagos State and everywhere. And now we are hearing of ridiculous budgets. Like, do these people actually care about us? I'm not sure they do. And I appreciate the fact that you're always calling out the citizens to, do their responsibility, to call out the people in government. Yeah, fine. But in this country, in Nigeria, that we find ourselves, doing those stuff is not easy. Doing those stuff seems like impossible because of the ethnic difference, religious difference, biased sentiments of some other people. When you are like trying to like uphold the truth, you will still see others that will tell you that what you're saying is not factual. Because if it was your person that was there, things would have been the same. Fine. Let's assume things would have been the same. But now that is not the case. This is the person you all choose to represent us. Your vote has already amounted to us having this person. Then you should take the responsibility that this person is doing wrong by the mandate given to the person. Don't let us talk about if this person was there.
Okay.
This would have been the same.
Boo, I hear you. Boo, I hear you. Yeah, we're gonna round it up. I mean, I hear your point. In the end, we're gonna round up. Sorry, it's about next 30 minutes if you don't mind. So go ahead, 30 minutes.
Okay, 30 seconds. I believe in you. So, if we are to like be true to ourselves, we would know that most of our politicians are just hypocrites, and any form of like standing up against them and calling them to order, they always see it as threats. And I believe we as citizens, we are very, very weak in that aspect, because hunger is in the country. A lot of people are just like wishing for what they will have on their table for their next meal. So this has really, really handicapped us as a citizen, and I wish things can be better. Like, we can be.
All right, folks, thank you so much for spending time with me all weekend, like on Sunday, right, to talk about inflation, of course, the wayward spending. We even talked about the Naira, right? We talked about how the Naira can more or less get its strength. And we linked all three together. Inflation driven by the wasteful spending. Then we're borrowing more to try to cover the wasteful spending, because when we spend wastefully, we don't create wealth that can cover back up. So it's all connected. It's not a pretty picture of Nigeria, that the same Nigeria that is looking for investors is the same Nigeria that is spending money on yachts and perfume. It's not a pretty picture. And sometimes we can blame the politicians, but we also have to ask ourselves the question, what are we doing as the taxpayers, more or less? All right, folks, I'll let you guys go. Next week, I'm going to do something different. I might be interviewing some folks about something slightly different. It's a bit of economics. It might be culture. You might tune in and see if you like it. You'll see us when we come next week. Also, to close by asking you guys to also do get my book. If you're interested in personal finance, grab my book on Amazon. Let's talk about your money. It's also going to now be available also in Nigeria pretty soon. It was available before, but we sold out. We're doing a reprint in Nigeria, so it should be available in Nigeria as well for you to buy. I appreciate that. You guys hanging out with me. Thank you for joining every 8 p.m. to just listen and talk and to learn together as Nigerians. I appreciate that. and I hope you guys have a great week ahead. Remember, guys, it's your money. It's not government's money. It's your money. So let's talk about your money all the time. Take care. See you guys, and bye.